Chapter 514. Yin Chuan looked at Miao and then at the Holy Maiden. He clenched his fists and took a deep breath. Can you really calculate your past life within 10,000 years? Unfortunately, I am not Jinro. Don't force it. This Miao, can you calculate it for me? The Holy Maiden asked expectantly. Sorry, since you're not Jinro, we will also take our leave. Yin Chuan sighed. Wait, the Holy Maiden said anxiously. Sorry, Holy Maiden, don't force it. Yin Chuan shook his head and walked out of the valley in disappointment. Qing Long followed closely behind. The Holy Maiden frowned deeply. This Dean and Holy Maiden, I will also take my leave. Dongfang Zhengpai also left with a smile. Yin Chuan left the valley, still feeling very disappointed. 10,000 years? Jinro should have lived within 10,000 years. Why does she look so similar? She came out. That Dongfang slut came out. Old Yin shouted excitedly. However, Dongfang Zhengpai is even more excited than him. Ha ha! Old Yin, where is your immortal wine? Dongfang Zhengpai grabbed the jade box and laughed proudly. Old Yin and the others looked at each other. It can't be, this guy's face is so thick. He actually asked for a safety talisman? Old Yin said with a frown. Ha ha! Let's go and broaden your horizons. Dongfang Zhengpai is incomparably proud. Yin Chuan and Qing Long naturally did not want to play with Dongfang Zhengpai. After leaving the valley, they kept walking and quickly left with a disappointed mood. Perhaps because she knows that Yin Chuan is in a bad mood, Miao did not say anything at this moment. She only gnawed on her spirit stones. Yin Chuan walked through the plaza, but did not realize that a pair of eyes were staring at him. Not far from the conferred god palace. Meng Rongrong originally came in a hurry. When she saw Yin Chuan leaving dejectedly, she immediately stopped, and a trace of doubt appeared on her face. He is such a strong-willed person. How can he be dejected? Meng Rongrong's eyes flashed with intense curiosity. What happened? Evening in the Great Deer Hall. Father, you said that Yin Chuan tried to curry favor with the Holy Maiden but was rejected? How is that possible? Meng Rongrong's eyes were filled with disbelief. Why would I lie to you? Meng Ziqiu said with a strange expression. Clearly, even he found it hard to believe. It's true. He nodded. What relationship? Meng Rongrong asked curiously. This was the first time he had heard of someone daring to claim a relationship with a fairy. He said the heavenly lady is his wife. Meng Ziqiu's expression became even stranger. Meng Rongrong was shocked. It's true. He nodded with a bitter smile. Yin Chuan is too daring. Meng Rongrong exclaimed. Isn't that so? This is also the first time I've seen someone who dares to say that the heavenly daughter is his wife. He said with a bitter smile. Meng Rongrong was slightly stunned. Meng Rongrong's mood suddenly became very complicated. She did not understand why she was flustered when she heard this news. So now, the Holy Maiden is living alone in the 100 Saints' Righteousness altar? Meng Rongrong asked again. Yes. Meng Ziqiu nodded. Headmaster, why did you agree at that time? Didn't you say? Yi frowned. All right, Rongrong, you can go out. Meng Ziqiu suddenly interrupted. Father, is there anything that you can't let me know? Meng Rongrong asked with a strange expression. Go back. This is indeed something that I can't let you know. It's just the inheritance of the previous headmasters. Meng Ziqiu shook his head. Chapter 515. All right. Meng Rongrong left in confusion. After Meng Rongrong left, Yi looked at Meng Ziqiu. Headmaster, didn't you say that the secret of the Julu Academy is there? Could the Heavenly Maiden have purposely, for the sake of our Julu Academy secret? Yi frowned. Very likely. Meng Ziqiu nodded. Then why did you? Silently, did you know? Sima Yuntian envied me for being the headmaster, but I envied him as well. He could travel the world and visit all the academies. Meng Ziqiu smiled bitterly. He looked at Meng Ziqiu in confusion. After the Heavenly Bestowal Conference, I'll settle everything. I want to pass the headmaster position to you. Meng Ziqiu smiled. How can that be? Headmaster, it's not time for you to undergo the tribulation yet. He exclaimed. It's not that it's not time, but it's still far from it. I want to travel the world and take another step forward, so I can only leave the academy to you. Meng Ziqiu smiled. Louis frowned, but finally nodded. All right, I can also tell you the secret of the 100 Saints morality altar, Meng Ziqiu said solemnly. Oh, although the Jilu Academy is only a middle-level sect, there have been higher-level sects that have attacked us in history, but all of them returned empty-handed. Do you know why? Meng Ziqiu asked in a low voice. Because the Jilu Academy is popular and supported by all the sects in the world. He said. Meng Ziqiu shook his head and smiled. No, that's only one reason. The main reason is the 100 Saints morality altar. In fact, there's a world inside. There's a world inside? A pocket dimension? He was surprised. Yes, a pocket dimension created by a wise man. It contains the true essence of the Jilu Academy. I've only entered it once. Meng Ziqiu took a deep breath. Huh? Then why did the Heavenly Maiden stay there? He frowned. It doesn't matter. There's someone in that pocket dimension. The Heavenly Maiden can't do much. Meng Ziqiu smiled. Someone? Meng Rongrong left the Great Deer Hall. After returning to his residence, he pondered for a moment. You won't tell me? Then I'll go and take a look myself. Fairy? What kind of person could make Yin Chuan do such a thing? Meng Rongrong did not know why she had such thoughts, but she still got up and flew towards the 100 Saints Righteousness Altar. 100 Saints Righteousness Altar. The mountain pass was filled with white fog, and Fairy was the only one inside. The fairy held a glass disc in her hands. The glass disc emitted a faint white light, and there seemed to be small dragons swimming inside. If Yin Chuan were here, he would definitely recognize it. It was the disc under Miao's sky-burying coffin back in the Demon Wind mountain range. Heavenly display board. However, at this moment, it was much smaller. The Holy Maiden chanted an incantation. Suddenly, 300 stars in the sky shone brightly, illuminating the entire Jilu city. For a moment, countless cultivators in Jilu city looked at the sky in shock. East Hall. Yin Chuan walked alone in the square. Calculating 10,000 years ago, Yin Chuan frowned as he pondered. 10,000 years? Then she's not Jinro? But why does she look so similar? There must be a reason. There must be. Yin Chuan pondered. As he pondered, Yin Chuan's expression suddenly changed, and he looked up at the sky. In the sky, the natal star, the Emperor's star, shone brightly. Not only the Emperor's star, but nearly 300 other stars also shone brightly. The starlight illuminated the entire Jilu city. It seemed to be very uniform, but as Yin Chuan's natal star, he could instantly analyze where the attraction was. 100 Saints, Righteousness Altar? Yin Chuan looked at the direction of the night sky. Chapter 516. The Heavenly Maiden held the heavenly compass in her hand and manipulated the power of the 300 stars. The starlight illuminated Jilu city, and the citizens looked up at the sky in shock. However, the starlight came and went quickly. In the blink of an eye, the stars were no longer dazzling, leaving behind a city of confused people. 100 Saints Righteousness Altar. Beneath Goddess Jichen's feet, the Heavenly Maiden's heavenly compass emitted a dazzling white light. Vaguely, there seemed to be 300 stars revolving within the white light. Boom! The white light suddenly exploded, instantly filling the entire 100 Saints Righteousness Altar. At the same time, it was as if there were 300 small stars revolving around him. Boom! 300 stars quickly gathered at one point. They gathered about 10 feet below Goddess Ji-chun. Boom! 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 After the massive collision, the 300 stars gradually disappeared, and a white door appeared beneath Goddess Ji-chen's feet. The door was quite blurry, and it was impossible to see what was inside. It was a door that had appeared out of nowhere. Found it! Fairy exhaled slightly. With a flip of her hand, she put away the heaven-projecting disc and walked in without hesitation. Outside the 100 Saints Morality Altar, Yin Chuan carried the Jade Emperor Sword and ran over alone. Because it was late at night, the square was much quieter. However, there were still some people. In particular, there were 60 figures standing outside the 100 Saints' righteousness altar. Lu Zilu. Yan Chuan looked at the neat rows of 60 Confucian scholars in surprise. They were the initiators of the peak literary meet not long ago. The 60 people who had been defeated by Yifeng. Why were they here? Lu Zilu, lead a group of junior brothers to seek an audience with the heavenly maiden, Lu Zilu said humbly. However, the 100 Saints' righteousness altar was filled with white mist, making it impossible to see what was inside. Furthermore, the heavenly maiden inside did not reply. Lu Zilu, lead a group of junior brothers to seek an audience with the heavenly maiden, Lu Zilu called out respectfully again. However, there was still no reply. Not far away, Yin Chuan saw a few familiar faces. Meng Rongrong and old Yin were among them. Yin Chuan strode over. What's going on? Didn't they say that the Holy Maiden's subordinates were guarding nearby? Where is he? Meng Rongrong asked. Eldest miss, I don't know either. They suddenly left. Old Yin smiled bitterly. What do you mean by suddenly leaving? Meng Rongrong asked curiously. I don't know. Maybe he wanted to do something. Old Yin smiled bitterly. They left the heavenly maiden alone and ran away? Meng Rongrong asked in surprise. Yes. Old Yin nodded with a bitter smile. At this time, Yin Chuan also walked over. Mr. Yin, why are you here too? Old Yin was puzzled. Mr. Yin? Meng Rongrong turned around and saw Yin Chuan. The moment she saw Yin Chuan, she revealed a shocked expression. Her face turned slightly red, and her heart thumped wildly. Meng Rongrong snorted coldly and ignored him. Yin Chuan looked at Meng Rongrong and smiled. He did not say anything. Instead, he asked old Yin, Is the Holy Maiden still in the 100 Saints' righteousness altar? Of course. She's the only one who hasn't come out. Old Yin nodded. When Meng Rongrong heard that Yin Chuan came in the middle of the night and asked about the Holy Maiden, she immediately felt irritated and walked away from Yin Chuan. Yin Chuan did not seem to notice Meng Rongrong's abnormality. Instead, he pointed at 60 great scholars and asked, What's going on with this group of people? Them? I don't know. Maybe they're looking for the Holy Maiden for fortune-telling. Old Yin smiled. Oh. Yin Chuan looked at Lu Zilu and the others strangely. Chapter 517. I am Lu Zilu, leading a group of junior brothers to seek an audience with the Holy Maiden. Lu Zilu said. However, there was still no sound from inside. Senior brother, let's go in. Chen Ping advised. Yes, we have been here for a while. Another scholar said. Lu Zilu thought for a moment and finally nodded. All right, let's go. Lu Zilu led the 60 scholars to the entrance of the 100 Saints' righteousness altar. What are they doing? Didn't the dean say that we are not allowed to disturb the Holy Maiden? Old Yin's expression changed. Yin Chuan did not say anything more to Old Yin and chased after them. Meng Rongrong also noticed the abnormality and quickly chased after them. Whoosh! The 60 scholars entered the 100 Saints' righteousness altar. Yin Chuan and Meng Rongrong also entered. Lu Zilu, these bastards. Old Yan's face was filled with anger. Senior brother, what do we do now? A scholar walked out from the God's Sealing Hall and asked. The dean only said that no one is allowed to disturb the Holy Maiden and did not ask anyone to look after her. I thought that the Holy Maiden's subordinates were enough to look after her, but who knew where they went? Lu Zilu actually dared to go against the dean's orders. There is no other choice now. Quickly report to the dean. Old Yin said anxiously. And everyone nodded. Yin Chuan, Meng Rongrong, and the rest entered the 100 Saints' righteousness altar and immediately saw the 60 scholars standing there. The moment the two of them entered, they immediately attracted the attention of the 60 scholars. Yin Chuan. Chen Ping's eyes flashed with anger. Yin Chuan ignored Chen Ping's jealous gaze and looked through the crowd at the white door below Goddess Ji Chen's feet. The door slowly shrank. Lu Zilu and the rest kept staring at the door. There's actually a spatial door? Teacher was right. The Julu Academy does have secrets. Lu Zilu's eyes flashed with excitement. The Holy Maiden must have also gone in. Wang Long said, Let's go. If we don't go in, the door will disappear. Lu Zilu said resolutely. With that said, Lu Zilu quickly stepped inside. As soon as Lu Zilu entered, the group of Grand Confucians followed him in. Is this the secret that father doesn't want to tell us? Meng Rongrong asked in surprise. At this moment, Yin Chuan had also caught up. He stepped towards the small door that was only as tall as a person. Although Meng Rongrong wanted to stop them, she couldn't stop them at all. She could only frown and follow them in. The small door became smaller and smaller. Not long after everyone stepped in, the small door had shrunk to nothing. When Meng Ziqiu and Yu Yi arrived, the entire 100 Saints' righteousness altar was empty. That's impossible. I just saw the number 60 great scholar, Yin Chuan, and First Miss come in together. Why are they all gone? Old Yin said in surprise. Meng Ziqiu and Yu Yi looked at each other. Don't forget what you saw just now. Also, inform the great Confucians of the first building of the left courtyard to guard outside. No one is allowed to enter. Meng Ziqiu said in a deep voice. Oh, okay. Old Yin nodded in confusion. Old Yin went out to make arrangements. Meng Ziqiu and Yu Yi looked around again. Dean, you don't know about the entrance to the world of light? Yu Yi asked doubtfully. I know, but I can't open it. Meng Ziqiu smiled bitterly. Oh, don't worry. That small world is extremely strange. They can't do anything. I just hope they don't disturb him. Sigh. Since they've already entered, it seems that it's impossible not to disturb him. Meng Ziqiu smiled bitterly. Yin Chuan and the others stepped into the small world, and their eyes lit up. Chapter 518. Everyone found themselves on top of a hill. They were surrounded by mountains and rivers. This world was very strange. It was as if it had been separated from their feet. Half of it was extremely dark, while the other half was abnormally bright. It was as if one side was day, and the other side was night. There was no sun or moon here. The white light of day was emitted by the orange chi, while the night was shrouded by countless black miasma. Although the miasma was dense, some of the light still pierced through, allowing those who entered to see clearly. What kind of world is this? It's so strange. A great scholar exclaimed. My magic power? I don't have any magic power. Chen Ping exclaimed. As soon as Chen Ping shouted, the great scholars cast their spells in surprise. However, all of their spells disappeared. Senior brother, how can this be? Chen Ping looked at Lu Zilu in shock. It's not that the spells disappeared. This world is suppressing our magic power. It's not like we haven't experienced a small world like this before. Have you forgotten? Lu Zilu said. I remember now. I understand now. This is the area of the 100 Saints' righteousness altar. It must have been created by the ascended immortals. Great scholar Wang Long said. That's right. Lu Zilu nodded affirmatively. Yin Chuan didn't pay attention to the analysis of these great scholars. Instead, he started to investigate the surrounding underbrush. Soon, he found some broken grass. He took a deep breath and said, Miss Ming, come with me. After that, Yin Chuan walked in the direction of the broken grass. Meng Rongrong looked at Yin Chuan with a complicated expression. Although her eyes were still stubborn, she still followed Yin Chuan. The great scholars of number 60 had been paying attention to the two of them. As the two of them walked in the direction of the miasma, the great scholars of number 60 stopped their discussion. Senior brother, where do we go now? Wang Long frowned. I'll take half of the people to the orange chi domain. Wang Long, take the other half and follow Yin Chuan into the miasma domain. Lu Zilu said. Yes. Meng Rongrong soon caught up with Yin Chuan. Why did you go this way? Meng Rongrong asked curiously. Ever since he saw Meng Rongrong's naked body, Meng Rongrong's attitude had always been hostile. Now, she was finally willing to ask questions. Yin Chuan smiled and said, Look at the grass on the ground. Meng Rongrong's expression froze. She immediately discovered the abnormality. Is that grass broken? Meng Rongrong's expression changed. The grass is broken, which means that someone stepped on it. And the one who came in before us was probably the holy daughter. Yin Chuan took a deep breath and said. Hearing Yin Chuan's explanation, Meng Rongrong's eyes flashed with admiration. However, Meng Rongrong's expression darkened when she thought of following the Heavenly Maiden. "What's the matter?" Yin Chuan asked. "Humph. Everything in this small world belongs to the Julu Academy. As long as I'm here, no one can take it away," Meng Rongrong said coldly. Yin Chuan smiled and did not argue with Meng Rongrong. After all, there was no point in doing so. That group of people followed us. Yin Chuan looked at the 30 Confucian scholars behind them in surprise. "Humph. A group of annoying people." Meng Rongrong looked behind and said coldly. Yin Chuan smiled. Following them might not be a bad thing. The group continued to walk deeper. The further they went, the more miasma there was. Fortunately, everyone had entered the chi state and could adjust their internal breathing for a period of time. The group walked for a day. After passing through several mountains, they entered a dense forest. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. They could vaguely hear the sound of flowing water in the distance. Looking from afar, they saw a huge cliff shrouded in miasma. At the edge of the cliff, the holy daughter in white stood quietly in the wind, looking at the huge cliff in front of her. The sound of flowing water could be heard below the cliff. "We finally caught up." Yin Chuan smiled. Chapter 519. At the cliff entrance of the world of light, Yin Chuan arrived in the blink of an eye and saw the Heavenly Maiden putting away a round wheel. Heavenly Disc. Yin Chuan immediately recognized it. It was the one he obtained from the Demon Wind mountain range. Did the Heavenly Maiden find this place because of the Heavenly Disc? Heavenly Maiden, why did you enter the forbidden area of the Julu Academy without informing us? Meng Rongrong immediately stepped forward and shouted. Yin Chuan surrounded her, as did Wang Long, Chen Ping, and the other Confucian scholars. But in the blink of an eye, everyone was attracted by the scene in front of them. Below the cliff was a rolling river, and on the opposite side was a similar cliff. In the air above the cliff, there were floating stones. They were connected to the opposite side of the cliff. Meng Rongrong blamed the Heavenly Maiden. The Heavenly Maiden sighed slightly and said, "Sorry, I'm doing this for the common people." The common people? The Confucian scholars looked at the Heavenly Maiden in shock. "What common people? Speak clearly," Meng Rongrong shouted. The Heavenly Maiden shook her head and stepped onto a floating stone. She stood steadily on it. Yin Chuan was worried. After all, the Heavenly Maiden was blind. How could she step on the floating stone so accurately? After all, the floating rocks were scattered all over the place. The fairy stepped on one of the floating rocks, and then another. Every step she took was a floating rock as she walked toward the other side. There must be something on the other side. Let's go, let's go. Chen Ping shouted excitedly. Chen Ping led the 3 Confucian scholars and quickly jumped onto a floating stone. Bang! Strangely, the floating stone was not fixed in the air. Instead, it fell with a loud bang. "Ah, save us! How could this be?" The 3 Confucian scholars fell down the cliff. "Junior brother!" The Confucian scholars cried out in alarm. However, the 3 of them fell down along with the floating stone. Bang! 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 Save us! Senior brother! In the blink of an eye, they fell into the river below and were swept away by the huge waves. "Junior brother!" The Confucian scholars cried out in confusion. How could this be? Why is it that the Holy Maiden is fine after stepping on the floating island, but Chen Ping fell into the river the moment he stepped on it? "Follow me," Yin Chuan said to Meng Rongrong. "Pa!" Yin Chuan jumped onto a floating rock. The floating rock beneath Yin Chuan's feet was also firmly fixed in the air. "Huh?" The group of Confucian scholars looked at him in astonishment. Why is Yin Chuan fine? Meng Rongrong followed behind Yin Chuan and stepped on the floating rock. Yin Chuan took the lead and stepped forward one by one. Some floating rocks can be stepped on, but some can't. Wang Long's expression changed. Immediately, everyone followed Yin Chuan's footsteps and quickly stepped onto the floating rocks. "How do you know this can be stepped on?" Meng Rongrong asked curiously. "I don't know. It's the Holy Maiden who knows. These are the floating rocks she stepped on." Yin Chuan shook his head. "But how does the Holy Maiden know which ones can be stepped on and which ones can't?" Meng Rongrong frowned. "I'm not sure either." Perhaps the Holy Maiden has been here before. Impossible. Rumor has it that the Holy Maiden has only been in the world for 20 years. 20 years ago, she never left the archaic Arcanum sect, much less come to the Julu Academy. This is her first time here. Meng Rongrong immediately shook her head. Oh, Yin Chuan revealed a trace of surprise. She can quickly know which ones can be stepped on the first time. Rumble. Just as everyone was moving forward, the floating rocks suddenly shook. The floating rock beneath Yin Chuan's feet also shook violently. Chapter 520. What's going on? Why are the floating rocks moving? Why are they moving? Several Confucian scholars exclaimed. Bang! A floating rock with a Confucian scholar on it suddenly fell. It was fixed in the air just a moment ago, but now it suddenly fell? Senior brother, save me. Bang! Rumble! In the blink of an eye, the Confucian scholar was washed away by the huge waves. The expressions of the Confucian scholars changed. Quick, go back, go back! Wang Long exclaimed. A Confucian scholar jumped onto the floating rock that he had just walked on. Bang! He fell again and was swept away by the huge waves. Not good. The bobbing of these floating rocks has become uncertain. Wang Long's expression changed drastically. The floating rock under Meng Rongrong's feet also shook. Yin Chuan looked into the distance. Even though the floating rocks were sinking, the fairy was still walking very smoothly. She had even reached the end of the floating rock. The fairy jumped onto the other side of the floating rock. Yin Chuan, Meng Rongrong, and a group of Confucian scholars were left alone in the air. Yin Chuan, what should I do? I don't want to fall. Meng Rongrong said in a panic. Perhaps what she was afraid of would happen. The floating rock under Meng Rongrong's feet suddenly shook. Bang! Meng Rongrong fell off the cliff in fear. In this world, one's magic power was suppressed. Falling off the cliff might not kill one, but it could not stop the fear in everyone's heart. Because the magic power that they were so proud of could not be used, they immediately lost their sense of security. Below them was a surging river. Who wouldn't be afraid? Meng Rongrong was the same. Fear filled her heart when the floating rock shook. Now that the floating rock finally fell, her fear reached its peak. She waved her hands in the air as if she was trying to grab a life-saving straw. But was there one now? Bang! A figure immediately hugged Meng Rongrong. While Meng Rongrong was frightened and helpless, Yin Chuan hugged Meng Rongrong. When Meng Rongrong fell, her eyes were filled with surprise. Yin Chuan hugged her. She jumped with him, being held in his arms. Meng Rongrong's fear seemed to be swept away in an instant. In her eyes, there was only Yin Chuan's frowning brows. Looking at that eyebrow, for some reason, Meng Rongrong's heart suddenly became extremely calm. Who? The two of them fell into the river below the cliff. At this moment, even though she had fallen, Meng Rongrong did not feel the slightest bit of fear in her heart. She only felt that it was a pity that she could no longer stop the fairy. Why? As they fell, Meng Rongrong asked softly. At that time, Yin Chuan was on the floating island and did not fall. Why did he jump over and fall with him? Shut up! Yin Chuan shouted at Meng Rongrong. Meng Rongrong was stunned. Whoosh! Suddenly, a green vine shot out from Yin Chuan's left sleeve to the other side of the cliff. Bang! Like an extremely long whip, it instantly wrapped around a big tree on the opposite cliff. Whoosh! The long whip wrapped tightly and quickly shortened. She pulled Yin Chuan to the other side of the river. The scholars who fell everywhere looked at Yin Chuan pulling a long whip and flying to the other side. They were all very confused. Yin Chuan, you little brat. Bastard Yin Chuan. Why does he have a long whip? The scholars fell into the river one after another. They were all very depressed. Why do you have such a long whip? Meng Rongrong was surprised. Yin Chuan blushed and said, Don't talk nonsense. Hold me tight. We are going to hit the wall. After all, the two of them fell for a distance. Although the long whip wrapped around the big tree and shortened, it still hit half of the cliff. Boom! The two of them crashed into the cliff and broke a lot of rocks. Fortunately, the two of them had strong bodies and didn't suffer any serious injuries. They were just a little closer to each other. Whoosh! The long whip slowly shortened and pulled the two of them to the opposite cliff. After putting away Poison Ivy's long whip, the two of them immediately separated. Meng Rongrong blushed. The previous awkwardness was quickly attracted by the sound of a group of scholars falling down the cliff not far away. The river swept up the group of scholars and washed them away in the blink of an eye. Meng Rongrong looked at the scholars with a complicated expression. There's no need to look. At their cultivation level, even if their magic is suppressed, their bodies can definitely withstand the collision of the river. They won't die. Yin Chuan shook his head. Then, Yin Chuan walked out of the depths and chased after the fairy. What exactly was inside? The fairy actually wanted a barge in even at the risk of offending the Julu Academy? Yin Chuan felt a strong sense of curiosity. Meng Rongrong looked at the scholars who were being swept away by the river and immediately chased after Yin Chuan. They walked into the forest. This place was too strange. It was said to be an array formation that blocked people, but there was a way out. It was even more impossible to say that it was formed naturally. This world was created by people, so it was obviously man-made. Why would they create such floating stones? The fairy couldn't see, so she walked very slowly. Yin Chuan and Meng Rongrong soon caught up. They chased into a forest. Chirp, 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 chirp. Countless sparrows chirped. Yin Chuan and Meng Rongrong saw that the fairy was standing at the periphery of a spacious area. There were thousands of black sparrows flying in the spacious area. The sparrow flew in an empty space, and the empty space extended out in an arc. It was like a circle of empty space, enveloping the interior of the space. I remember now. The cliff from before seemed to have an arc as well. The river under the cliff might be a circular spacious area. Now, it's a circular spacious area? Meng Rongrong said, in surprise with a frown. Are they poisonous sparrows? Yin Chuan's expression changed. Poisonous sparrows? Meng Rongrong asked curiously. These aren't real sparrows. They are poisonous sparrows formed by the dense miasma. They're controlled by someone using a formation and are flying randomly in a certain area. You can't touch them. These poisonous sparrows are extremely corrosive. Even Emptiness Realm experts will be turned into mush upon touching them. Even stones will be corroded upon contact, Yin Chuan said in a deep voice. Poisonous sparrows? Have you seen them before? Meng Rongrong said with a frown. I have, but I only saw it once. It was a forest filled with extremely dense miasma. After nearly 1,000 years, a poisonous sparrow was formed. When the poisonous sparrow was born, it instantly corroded an Emptiness Realm expert and his Dharma treasures and weapons, causing them to rot together with him. There was only one back then, but there are millions of them here, Yin Chuan said in surprise. Looking at the densely packed poisonous sparrows, Yin Chuan's heart was in a state of shock. No wonder half of this world was miasma. The millions of poisonous sparrows explained everything. Fortunately, these poisonous sparrows flew randomly in a fixed area because of the array formation. Otherwise, if they swarmed over, even if he had the memories of his previous life, he would still be finished. While Yin Chuan was marveling at the countless poisonous sparrows, the fairy stepped into the spacious area not far away. No, Yin Chuan shouted in surprise. However, it was too late. The fairy had already stepped into the area where the poisonous sparrows were. Chapter 521. World of Radiance. Millions of poisonous sparrows surrounded a circular area. The heavenly maiden stepped forward and headed inside. No, Yin Chuan exclaimed, but it was too late. The fairy had already stepped into the area where the poisonous sparrows were. Chirp, 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 chirp. Thousands of poisonous sparrows flew rapidly from all directions, all of them crashing towards the holy maiden. The fairy paused slightly, and dozens of poisonous sparrows brushed past her. She continued forward, and dozens of poisonous sparrows brushed past her again. She paused again, and dozens of poisonous sparrows brushed past her again. How was this possible? Meng Rongrong exclaimed in surprise. As if rehearsed, the poisonous sparrows brushed past her one after another, but none of them touched the fairy. Is it a coincidence? It's not a coincidence. It can't be a coincidence. Yin Chuan's eyes widened. So the fairy is affecting the flying of the poisonous sparrows? No, the flying of the poisonous sparrows has never deviated. There are no rules. It's just that she keeps stopping and avoiding the poisonous sparrows. Yin Chuan frowned. Avoiding? These poisonous sparrows fly without any rules. How can they be avoided? There are millions of poisonous sparrows, Meng Rongrong said in disbelief. Unless, Yin Chuan frowned deeply, unless the fairy has the ability to foresee the future. Meng Rongrong followed Yin Chuan's words. Foresee the future? Yin Chuan's eyes suddenly narrowed. Right, foresee the future. If she really has this ability, it can explain why she stepped on the floating stone earlier. She can foresee the effect of the floating stone. Now, she can foresee the flying trajectory of the poisonous sparrows. That's why she can strangely avoid the poisonous sparrows every time. Meng Rongrong's eyes widened. Impossible, impossible. The future is unpredictable. Even immortals can't foresee it because the future doesn't exist. Only what is experienced is real. How can a future that doesn't exist be foreseen? Yin Chuan shook his head. The heavenly maiden cultivates luck, Meng Rongrong said. Yin Chuan shook his head resolutely. It's impossible to cultivate luck. At most, I can calculate the past and the present. I can only calculate the things that exist or have existed in the past. How can I predict the future? Then why don't you explain why the heavenly maiden was able to avoid thousands of poisonous sparrows? Meng Rongrong said angrily. I don't know. Yin Chuan was at a loss. Who? Soon, fairy had passed through the poisoned sparrow domain and arrived on the other side. Yin Chuan's eyes were filled with anxiety as he watched the holy maiden enter the depths. Move aside, let me do it. Meng Rongrong suddenly untied the zither on her back. Yin Chuan nodded and slowly stepped aside. Ding, 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 ding. The zither string moved, and a sound wave rushed out. The flying venomous sparrow suddenly stopped. Is it really working? Meng Rongrong's face lit up. Ding, 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 ding. Meng Rongrong strummed the zither, and beautiful music started to play. As soon as the music started, the venomous sparrow domain seemed to be intoxicated by the sound wave. Their originally irregular flight became regular in the blink of an eye. Under the music, the venomous sparrow domain soared into the sky and quickly circled in the sky. In an instant, a venomous sparrow domain appeared below. Amazing, Yin Chuan praised. Meng Rongrong smiled, and a trace of pride flashed across her eyes. Meng Rongrong strummed the zither string and quickly walked towards the interior. Yin Chuan also walked toward the interior. Soon, the two also passed through the venomous sparrow domain. The music stopped. Bam! G G G G G G. Countless venomous sparrow domain resumed their original irregular behavior and formed a wall of venomous sparrows. Chapter 522. Miss Meng's zither skills are the best I've ever seen. It's hard to find a match for you in this world. Yin Chuan exclaimed. My zither skills? It's still too early to say. As far as I know, there are at least 2 people who are better than me. Meng Rongrong shook her head. Oh, Yin Chuan said in surprise. As the two chatted, they chased after the fairy. Soon, the two discovered something extremely unusual. The ground is black, and so are the trees. Why are they all black? Meng Rongrong said in surprise. We're about to reach the source of the miasma. The ground and trees have all been dyed black by the miasma. Yin Chuan said in a low voice. Meng Rongrong nodded. In the blink of an eye, Yin Chuan and Meng Rongrong had caught up to the fairy. You two actually followed me? The fairy was surprised. I thought you couldn't see. How did you arrive here so accurately? Yin Chuan frowned. I'm blind, but my mind's eye is open. My mind's eye can see my surroundings, but it's a pity that my mind's I can only see black and white. I can't see a colorful world like you. The fairy smiled bitterly as she walked. Fairy, what are you looking for? Meng Rongrong frowned. Don't you know this place? The fairy asked curiously. What do you mean? Meng Rongrong frowned. In our world, there are actually some seals. No one knows when they came from, only that they existed a long time ago. Some can even be traced back to ancient times. I remember that there should be a seal in the Demon Wind mountain range. It was later placed by Immortal Master Damiao. The fairy took a deep breath. Myriad wonders, demonic lotus? I've experienced that battle before. Yin Chuan exclaimed. The myriad wonders, demonic lotus was that battle. Yin Chuan met Mou Shi and Mr. Monroe and obtained the Jade Emperor's Sword. 10,000 wonders, demonic lotus? Indeed, it is an ancient item that Master Damiao accidentally obtained. It is incomparably evil. Perhaps Master Damiao learned about the reason for the ancient great calamity from the myriad wonders demonic lotus. So he set up a feng shui formation to seal the myriad wonders demonic lotus. The holy maiden recalled. The great ancient calamity? Yin Chuan asked curiously. The great ancient calamity? That was a great calamity, right? After that calamity, the heavenly Tao collapsed. The high heavens already died. The holy maiden sighed lightly. The collapse of the heavenly Tao? Heaven is dead? Yin Chuan was puzzled. Not only Yin Chuan, but Meng Rongrong was also at a loss. That's right. Our celestial arcanum sect has actually been deducing the events of ancient times. However, when we deduced all the way up to that great calamity, we were unable to deduce any further. Therefore, we're looking for things from before the great calamity, hoping to restore that portion of history. The heavenly maiden shook her head. History from before the great calamity? Meng Rongrong asked in surprise. Over the years, generations of wise men of the celestial arcanum sect have been deducing, but nothing has been found. We only know that Goddess Jichen, whom the world worships, was a figure from before the great calamity. She didn't create all life, but saved all life. In that great calamity, she sacrificed herself to save all life. Unfortunately, after that, the heavenly Tao collapsed, and the high heavens already died. The holy maiden sighed lightly. What does that have to do with coming here? Meng Rongrong frowned. 50,000 years ago, an ancient seal was found here at the Julu Academy. It was an ancient item. The founder of the Julu Academy, Invincible East, was about to ascend, so he created the world of light here and let his descendants guard it. The holy maiden said solemnly. Invincible East? Yin Chuan frowned. Chapter 523. Dongfang Bubi, the most powerful person in the world 50,000 years ago. When he established the Julu Academy, he instructed all sects, sacred grounds, and academies to abide by one rule. No sealed, evil item in this world can be brought into the immortal world. Anyone who violates this rule will be punished by the world. Even if he ascends, he will be hunted down by the immortal world. The heavenly maiden took a deep breath and said, So, domineering? Meng Rongrong said in surprise. You want to steal the ancient item here? Yin Chuan said with a frown. It's not stealing. It's an agreement between my archaic mysteries sect and the Julu Academy's third-generation dean. They set up barriers in this world, similar to the floating rock and poisonous sparrow from before. As long as someone from my archaic mysteries sect can take it away, my archaic mysteries sect will take care of it. The heavenly maiden said solemnly. As she said that, the three of them unconsciously stopped, because the three of them had already seen the so-called ancient item. In front of them was a black pool. The pool was filled with incomparable evil energy. It was as if the pool was formed by miasma and evil energy. Above the pool of water was a black rose. The rose emitted an extremely evil energy. It was as if the rose had dyed the pool below black. It was as if the rose had dyed half of the radiant world black. And above the rose was a glazed pagoda. The glazed pagoda was holding the black rose. Even with the glazed pagoda, the black rose still emitted a dense, evil energy, continuously polluting the earth. This evil energy why does it feel a bit like the 10,000 Wonders Demon Lotus? Yin Chuan frowned. Buzz! The Jade Emperor's sword on Yin Chuan's back suddenly trembled, as if it was excited. Yin Chuan frowned and steadied the Jade Emperor's sword. I finally found it. The Heavenly Maiden sighed. That black rose? Yin Chuan asked. Both. The glazed pagoda and that rose are ancient items. With this item, it will be easier to deduce ancient matters. The Heavenly Maiden took a deep breath and said, No, this belongs to the Julu Academy. You can't take it unless my father comes. Meng Rongrong immediately blocked the Holy Maiden. This is something that Julu Academy's third-generation headmaster personally promised. Since I'm able to come here, I can take it. The Holy Maiden shook her head. No, how do I know you're telling the truth? As long as I'm here, don't even think about it. Meng Rongrong said coldly. With a wave of her hand, she placed the zither in front of her. If the Heavenly Maiden dared to move, she would attack. Although there was no mana here, Meng Rongrong's zither skills had not diminished. Naturally, she could produce sound techniques. Who? The Holy Maiden's figure suddenly flickered. She instantly appeared behind Meng Rongrong and pointed her finger. Pa! Meng Rongrong suddenly stiffened. How is that possible? You weren't suppressed by the radiant world? How do you have mana? Meng Rongrong was unable to move. I didn't say that I was suppressed. The Holy Maiden laughed. Why? Why aren't you suppressed? Meng Rongrong exclaimed. Meng Rongrong was instantly restrained by the Holy Maiden, unable to move. I have my ways. The Holy Maiden shook her head and did not explain. With that, the Holy Maiden looked at Yin Chuan and said, Yin Chuan, what about you? Do you want to stop me too? Taking a deep breath, Yin Chuan looked deeply at the Holy Maiden. This woman looked exactly like his wife in his previous life. Yin Chuan took a deep breath and said, I want to ask you a question. Oh, Holy Maiden, how old are you this year? Yin Chuan asked solemnly. Me? 23 years old. The Holy Maiden said solemnly. 23? Didn't you start traveling around the world 20 years ago? 3 years old? Meng Rongrong, who was unable to move, exclaimed. 3 years old? Indeed, but at that time, I had already unlocked the wisdom of my previous life. So age is not important to me. The Holy Maiden shook her head. 23 years old? 23 years old? Yin Chuan suddenly felt a strong sense of hope. Because Zhenrou's death was 23 years ago, she should have died around that time. Zhenrou is dead? The Holy Maiden was born? Yin Chuan, are you going to stop me? The Holy Maiden asked again. Yin Chuan took a deep breath and said, No, I'll help you. Yin Chuan, you bastard. Meng Rongrong Jiaohu said. Chapter 524. Yin Chuan, you want to stop me? The Heavenly Maiden asked again. No, I'll help you. Yin Chuan said after taking a deep breath. Yin Chuan, you bastard. Meng Rongrong Jiaohu said. Yin Chuan had mixed feelings about the Heavenly Maiden. In fact, Yin Chuan had already guessed that the Heavenly Maiden was not Zhenrou. However, there was always a glimmer of hope because there were too many coincidences. For Zhenrou, Yin Chuan did not want to give up even though he knew that there was a dead end ahead. You'll help me? No need. The Heavenly Maiden shook her head. With that, the Heavenly Maiden walked to the side of the black pool. With a wave of her hand, a ribbon flew out of her sleeve and wrapped around the glazed pagoda. No! Yin Chuan immediately shouted. The Heavenly Maiden frowned and turned back. The glazed pagoda is aimed at the black rose. Once the pagoda is taken away, the black rose will instantly release the evil aura that corrodes us. It will be even more powerful than the poisonous sparrow. We cannot take it away. We have to deal with the black rose first. Yin Chuan said in a deep voice. The Heavenly Maiden nodded. The ribbon loosened and shot toward the black rose as if she wanted to subdue it first. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. The end of the ribbon was suddenly corroded clean. What's wrong? The Heavenly Maiden raised her brows. The half-corroded ribbon fell into the black pool below. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. The black water instantly corroded the ribbon again. What a heavy, evil aura! The Heavenly Maiden exclaimed. With that, the heavenly maiden took out a purple jade box. The jade box released a faint light and moved toward the black rose. Sizzle. The jade box instantly corroded again. How is that possible? The purple jade box is a Tier 9 Dharma treasure. It's only one step away from an immortal artifact. The heavenly maiden exclaimed. Buzz. The jade emperor's sword on Yin Chuan's back trembled violently, as if it was excited about something. Yin Chuan frowned and took out the jade emperor's sword. Let me try. Yin Chuan stepped forward. You, fairy revealed a look of disbelief. Yin Chuan walked forward, mostly because of the jade emperor's sword's thoughts. The jade emperor's sword was excited? Yin Chuan had experienced this kind of excitement before. In the past, when he killed people and sucked their blood, he was excited. However, it was not as intense as now. Could it be that the Jade Emperor's sword could also absorb this evil aura? He probingly inserted the Jade Emperor's sword into the side of the pool. Gulialu, the Jade Emperor's sword suddenly made a sound like it was drinking water. Rumble. A large amount of evil aura suddenly gathered towards the Jade Emperor's sword. The evil aura grew denser and denser. The surroundings of the Jade Emperor's sword instantly turned pitch black. Ah! Fairy exclaimed in surprise. Yin Chuan was even more surprised. The Jade Emperor's sword was already evil enough. Was it not enough? Gulialu, the water in the small pool churned and flowed towards the shore, towards the Jade Emperor's sword. The Jade Emperor's sword instantly turned pitch black. Its entire body glowed with a dark light. What kind of sword is that? Fairy exclaimed. Not only Fairy, but Meng Rongrong also looked at Yin Chuan's Jade Emperor's sword in surprise. Jade Emperor? Yin Chuan frowned. The Jade Emperor's sword did not need him to activate it. It absorbed the water on its own as if it was a rare tonic. Gulialu, Gulialu. More and more black water in the small pool gathered towards the Jade Emperor's sword. After half an hour, the black pool dried up. All the black water was absorbed by the Jade Emperor's sword. The Jade Emperor's sword was surrounded by black aura, making it impossible for anyone to get close. This was not the end. The black aura connected to the black rose in mid-air as if it was extracting the evil aura of the black rose. Buzz. Chapter 5:25. The black rose let out a rumbling sound, as if it was trying to stop the black gas from leaking out. At this moment, the glazed pagoda suddenly emitted a dazzling rainbow light that shot towards the black rose. In an instant, the black rose was suppressed by the pagoda and struggled bitterly. On the other side, the Jade Emperor's sword was violently absorbing the nourishing energy. Rumble! The black rose's evil energy was flowing towards the Jade Emperor's sword. The Jade Emperor's sword slowly emitted a faint black sword energy. Your sword has a sword spirit? The heavenly lady was shocked. It's not fully cultivated. It's only in its embryonic form. It should be a type of instinct. Yin Chuan shook his head. Yin Chuan also looked at the Jade Emperor's sword in shock. Yin Chuan was sure that the Jade Emperor's sword spirit was rapidly improving and condensing. Rumble! The black gas surged towards the black rose, causing it to tremble. As if it couldn't take it anymore, the glazed pagoda emitted an even brighter light that shot towards the black rose. Gradually, a petal of the black rose suddenly fell. It was as if the black rose was withering. The falling petal turned into a black gas in the air and was absorbed by the Jade Emperor's sword again. Your sword extracted the evil aura of the black rose and extracted its essence. It seems so. Yin Chuan nodded seriously. The Jade Emperor's sword was trembling violently. It was emitting a joyful sound. Sword spirit? Is it really going to complete the sword spirit? Yin Chuan was shocked. Yin Chuan's eyes flashed with anticipation and worry. He was anticipating that the sword spirit was about to be completed. It took him thousands of years to cultivate the sword spirit in his previous life. In this life, it only took him a few years. He was worried that the sword spirit wasn't cultivated by him. He had to quickly subdue it. Otherwise, the Jade Emperor's sword would no longer recognize him as its master. Whoosh! The black rose continued to wither as the Jade Emperor's sword absorbed the evil energy. Iron Jade essence? But why can it contain the evil energy? The Heavenly Lady was confused. My sword is no longer pure Iron Jade essence. It mutated after being tainted by the evil energy of the 10,000 Wonders demonic lotus. It seems that the black rose and the 10,000 Wonders demonic lotus are of the same origin. Yin Chuan frowned. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The petals withered, and the black rose became smaller and smaller. Gradually, it was absorbed by the Jade Emperor's sword. Boom! The glazed pagoda. The Heavenly Lady reached out her hand to hum. The pagoda emitted a dazzling light. Rise! The Heavenly Maiden shouted. Rumble! The pagoda was lifted up by the Holy Maiden, and the ground around it began to shake strangely. Mountains to the ground to break, it was to be a strong earthquake. Young Master Yin, Miss Meng, will meet again. The Holy Maiden carried the pagoda and soared into the sky, flying into the distance. The pagoda, it too, Chi-Chi too, to it radiant world, great morality area. As Lu Zilu and the others entered deeper into the palace, they gradually saw a large number of palaces. Everyone rushed overexcitedly and entered a large hall. So many books, a Confucian exclaimed. The Confucian scholars took out different books and started reading. Are these books from 30,000 years ago? 30,000 years ago, a Confucian scholar said excitedly. What a dense, righteous energy. If I meditate here, my cultivation will definitely increase tenfold with this scripture. Chapter 5:26. The Confucian scholars looked on excitedly. In the depths of the palaces, the door to a large hall with the words Hall of Light on it suddenly opened. A skinny old man stepped out. He was dressed in white and had a diamond-shaped mark in between his eyebrows. His expression was cold, and his eyes were deep like a deep pool. The old man glanced at the palace where Lu Zilu and the rest were, then turned to look at the miasma area in the distance. The miasma is decreasing? The demonic rose has been taken by someone? Who? The old man's eyes narrowed. Suddenly, a colorful light shot into the sky. The colorful light was extremely dazzling, and wherever it passed, the miasma would be purified. A lady was flying quickly with a pagoda. That bastard Meng Ziqiu. How dare he let so many people sneak into the world of light and steal our treasure? The old man stared. As the old man stared, the Heavenly Maiden in the distance held the pagoda in one hand and the heavenly disk in the other. Star power! The Heavenly Maiden shouted. Boom! The heavenly disk emitted a white light. In the sky of Jilu City, outside the world of light, the 300 stars that had dimmed suddenly became dazzling again. Whoosh! Endless light shot down from the starry sky, causing the citizens of Jilu City to be shocked. Similarly, it came quickly and left even faster. In the blink of an eye, the dazzling stars disappeared. Outside the 100 Saints' righteousness altar, a group of Confucian scholars stood guard, not allowing anyone to enter. The 100 Saints' righteousness altar was empty. Whoosh! Whoosh! Behind the statue of goddess Ji Chun, 10 expressionless men walked out. There's also a huge green phoenix carriage. They were the subordinates of the Heavenly Maiden. They had not left Jilu City and had been hiding here. They were waiting for the Heavenly Maiden's signal. The 10 expressionless men formed a circle and attacked the entrance of the world of light at the same time. Oh! A loud sound echoed throughout the entire Jilu City. In an instant, the entrance of the world of light opened again. What's that sound? The Confucian scholars exclaimed outside. Quick, inform the dean. Someone shouted. A few Confucian scholars rushed into the 100 Saints' righteousness altar. Bastard, who are you people? The Confucian scholars shouted. However, the Heavenly Maiden's subordinates did not care. Rumble! A huge glazed pagoda emerged from the entrance. Fairy rushed out with the pagoda in her hand. Let's go. Heavenly Maiden jumped onto the carriage and shouted. The figures of the 10 wooden men suddenly swayed and turned into 10 huge blue wands. 12 blue wands bit the ropes of the huge chariot and immediately soared into the sky. Ooh! With a terrifying speed, he instantly turned into a green stream of light and shot far away. Where do you think you're going? At the entrance, another white light soared into the sky. The old man with the diamond-shaped mark between his eyebrows chased after them. His speed was so fast that it shocked the group of great scholars. Who is this person? Someone asked in shock. In the light world, black gas surrounded the Jade Emperor's sword. Yin Chuan's eyes turned solemn. He had to suppress the sword spirit before it was fully formed. Although the black sword chi was wreaking havoc, Yin Chuan still resolutely walked over. He reached out and grabbed the Jade Emperor's sword. Boom! The Jade Emperor's sword emitted a dazzling black light, as if it was fiercely repelling Yin Chuan. Evil creature, how dare you? Yin Chuan glared. Boom! Yin Chuan's aura suddenly became stronger. The Jade Emperor's sword's evil aura wreaked havoc and fiercely attacked Yin Chuan, trying to push Yin Chuan away. Roar! Yin Chuan's face instantly turned ferocious. The true dragon's will was released and clashed with the Jade Emperor's sword's evil aura. However, the evil aura was too fierce. It was so fierce that even with Yin Chuan's will from his previous life, he could not suppress it. It was as if he would not be able to resist it very soon. The powerful evil aura even wanted to corrode Yin Chuan's body. Chapter 5:27. Yin Chuan, how are you? Meng Rongrong couldn't move, but she was still worried. Yin Chuan's current appearance was a little scary. His face was ferocious, and his veins were bulging. Waves of tyrannical aura surged out, but the Jade Emperor's sword's evil aura was too dense. Gaga gaga. It was as if hundreds of black demonic heads had appeared in an instant, resisting Yin Chuan's aura. Yin Chuan's hands had already turned pitch black. Moreover, this black color was spreading to his entire body. Bastard, if it wasn't for the fact that I lost everything from my previous life, I would only need one seal to kill you. Yin Chuan's eyes flashed with anger. Yin Chuan? Yin Chuan? Meng Rongrong said anxiously. At this moment, Yin Chuan naturally didn't have the time to care about Meng Rongrong. Holding the Jade Emperor's sword, his eyes suddenly turned slightly red. Thump! 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 Yin Chuan's heart suddenly started beating faster and faster. Yin Chuan's hair also slowly turned red and slowly grew longer. Ah! Meng Rongrong cried out in surprise. Yin Chuan's entire body was emitting bloody light. The bloody light outside his body seemed to be fighting against the evil aura. Super Theurgy, suppress the evil aura for me. Yin Chuan roared with a ferocious expression. Boom! Yin Chuan's aura rose rapidly, but it was still not enough. The evil aura was too strong. Looking up at the sky, Yin Chuan's eyes flashed with a hint of depression. Small world, with my current strength, I still can't forcefully use the power of the stars in a place without stars. Yin Chuan's eyes flashed with a hint of helplessness. He used his super divine ability. His hair turned blood red, and his strength skyrocketed. Even with the will of the Emperor, he was still unable to suppress the evil energy. Yin Chuan's forearm had already turned completely black. The evil energy was continuously corroding his body. Are you going to give up the Jade Emperor's sword? No, the Jade Emperor's sword is mine. As long as I don't die, you will forever serve me. Yin Chuan roared. With a loud roar, the violent aura once again rushed into the Jade Emperor's sword. Rumble. The two powerful forces collided with each other, and the surrounding air shook as if a hurricane had blown past. Boom! Yin Chuan's arm emitted a series of loud bangs. The blood mist and black gas mixed together, making the inside of the Yin Chuan look incomparably evil. Yin Chuan? How are you? Meng Rongrong asked anxiously. Ka ka ka. In the collision, cracks seemed to have appeared on Yin Chuan's skin. The powerful force collided, and Yin Chuan's Qi realm body seemed to be unable to withstand it. Go back, roar! Yin Chuan's cracked skin suddenly spewed out a large amount of blood. His originally long hair suddenly grew again, and in the blink of an eye, it grew from his back all the way to his waist. Boom! On the ground, a huge blood lake suddenly rushed out from under Yin Chuan's feet. It appeared out of nowhere, as if Yin Chuan had created the blood lake with his steps. No, it should be a blood sea. However, at this moment, it was limited by Yin Chuan's cultivation, and the blood sea was too small. Even though the blood sea was too small, it instantly filled the entire valley. The blood sea swept up a huge wave that was 10 feet high, but it didn't continue to extend outwards. Once the blood sea appeared, it rumbled and absorbed the heaven and earth yuan qi from all directions. In the blood sea, Yin Chuan was no longer surrounded by blood mist. Instead, blood waves surrounded Yin Chuan, making him look like a sea demon. "I'm here, go back into the sword," Yin Chuan roared. Boom, boom, boom. Chapter 528. A large amount of black gas was forcefully pushed back, and the black gas on Yin Chuan's arm was slowly shrinking. On the other side, Meng Rongrong, who was submerged in the blood sea with only her head exposed, was shocked. This is... What's going on? Blood sea? Meng Rongrong was shocked. Yin Chuan's eyes were blood red as he turned to look at Meng Rongrong, his eyes filled with madness. Suppressing the evil energy, Yin Chuan took a deep breath. Super Theurgy, second form? Blood Sea Realm? What a great feeling! Yin Chuan said with excitement. As the evil energy was being suppressed, Yin Chuan was also able to feel the second form of the bloodline Theurgy, the Blood Sea Realm, a sea of energy for him to use. Rumble. All the black gas was pushed back into the Jade Emperor's sword. Phew! Yin Chuan laughed excitedly with a sense of unbridled arrogance. Just like before, the Jade Emperor's sword once again sent a portion of its energy into Yin Chuan's body. Different from before, this time it asked for Yin Chuan's permission. Under normal circumstances, Yin Chuan would have to think about it calmly. But now, with the second form of the Super Theurgy, Yin Chuan's body was filled with excitement. Power? Come! Phew! Waves of evil energy rushed into Yin Chuan's body. Boom! Yin Chuan's body made a loud sound. Third level of the Qi realm, Yin Chuan said excitedly. The powerful energy continued to rush into Yin Chuan's body, and Yin Chuan enjoyed it. Gradually, Yin Chuan's face turned red. Phew! Phew! Yin Chuan's breathing became rapid. What's going on? My blood qi? Super Yin Chuan looked at the Jade Emperor sword in shock. Rose? Roses? Was it the black rose he had absorbed earlier? The essence of roses has an aphrodisiac effect. Black rose was even worse? What an overbearing effect. Not good. Super Yin Chuan's expression changed. Even now, you still want to resist? Die, roar. With the heat of his boiling blood, Yin Chuan roared again. A powerful force rushed towards the Jade Emperor's sword. The Jade Emperor's sword had wanted to put up a final resistance, but at that moment, Yin Chuan's power was too overbearing. With the addition of the heat, it pressed down on the Jade Emperor's sword. Boom! The Jade King sword let out a loud boom. The resistance that was about to give birth to a sword spirit was completely destroyed by Yin Chuan's power. The surrounding black qi suddenly retracted into the Jade Emperor's sword. It did not dare to resist anymore. Yin Chuan had won. He had completely subdued the Jade Emperor's sword. However, the aphrodisiac essence of the black rose was all poured into Yin Chuan's body. Yin Chuan's body became hotter and hotter. His eyes were bloodshot and his thoughts were in a mess. It was as if he was lost in his desire. With nowhere to vent his desire, Yin Chuan fell into a frenzy. Ah! Yin Chuan roared in agitation. Yin Chuan, are you okay? A voice suddenly came from the sea of blood. This voice was like an outlet for him to vent his anger. The lost Yin Chuan suddenly turned his head. His eyes were filled with strong desire. Yin Chuan, what are you doing? Meng Rongrong suddenly felt that something was wrong. Whoosh! Yin Chuan rushed over and hugged Meng Rongrong. No! However, Yin Chuan had already lost his mind. He reached out and tore off their clothes. His blood-red hair wrapped around the two of them. His most primitive instinct was activated. As Meng Rongrong resisted, Yin Chuan's actions became more and more violent. Meng Rongrong's most beautiful dream was completely destroyed by Yin Chuan, who had lost his mind. Chapter 529. Yin Chuan, I hate you. Meng Rongrong cried out with tears in her eyes. But soon, she was immersed in Yin Chuan's violent charge. The heavenly lady rushed out of the radiant world, carried the pagoda, and boarded the green phoenix carriage. The 12 green phoenixes pulled the carriage at an astonishing speed. They rushed out of Jiulu City in an instant and continued to fly into the distance. But the person behind was even faster. The two of them chased, and neither of them was willing to stop. After 2 hours, they finally caught up. The white-robed elder appeared in front of the green phoenix carriage. Ing, 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 the 12 green phoenixes cried out and stopped. The heavenly lady carried the pagoda and stood in front of the carriage. Rumble! In the sky, rolling black clouds suddenly appeared, as though they were targeting the white-robed elder. If not for you, I would have caught up with this girl. The white-robed elder shouted at the black clouds in the sky. The diamond-shaped mark between the elder's eyebrows suddenly emitted a white light that enveloped him. Instantly, the thunderclouds in the sky became much smaller, but they still floated above the white-robed elder's head. Little girl, how dare you? The white-robed elder said coldly. The heavenly lady did not panic. Instead, she stood in front of the carriage and said calmly, the current heavenly lady of the Celestial Arcanum sect greets Senior. Celestial Arcanum sect? The white-robed elder frowned. May I ask who Senior is? The heavenly lady asked solemnly. I am Mengling Tian, the white-robed elder said. Mengling Tian? You are. The heavenly lady was surprised. That's right, you are right. Hand over the demonic rose and the glazed pagoda. For the sake of the Celestial Arcanum sect, I can let bygones be bygones. The white-robed elder, Mengling Tian, said in a deep voice. Let bygones be bygones. Senior, you have misunderstood. What I want is not to let bygones be bygones, but the promise of the Jiulu Academy. Since you are Mengling Tian, I don't have to waste my breath. You also know about the promise. Since I have already obtained it, does the Jiulu Academy want to go back on its words? The heavenly lady said in a deep voice. Mengling Tian narrowed his eyes. Senior Meng, your Jiulu Academy has a strong foundation, but my archaic arcanum sect isn't just an empty shell. If the Jiulu Academy has someone like you, how can my archaic arcanum sect not have one? This was the agreement from back then. Could it be that you want to go back on your word? If you go back on your words, I guarantee that the archaic arcanum sect will come immediately, shouted the holy maiden. Ha ha ha! Little girl, are you trying to scare me? You're still too inexperienced. Come on, my Jiulu Academy has never been afraid of anyone, Mengling Tian said disdainfully. Senior Meng, is the Jiulu Academy really going back on its word? The holy maiden asked in a deep voice. Mengling Tian's face darkened. This item will only be safeguarded by my Celestial Arcanum sect. My Celestial Arcanum sect will set up obstacles. In the future, if anyone from the Jiulu Academy has the ability, they can go to the Celestial Arcanum sect to retrieve it. How about it? Said the heavenly maiden. Rumble. The dark clouds above Mengling Tian's head continued to rumble, as if they would strike down at any moment. Looking at the dark clouds above his head, Mengling Tian's face darkened. Senior Meng, let's leave the matters of the younger generation to the juniors. Back then, the third-generation headmaster of the Jiulu Academy made an agreement with my sect. No matter what, Senior, don't worry. We won't violate the rules set down by Invincible East back then, Fairy said solemnly. Looking at the holy maiden, Mengling Tian revealed a strange smile. Ha ha ha! A junior from the Celestial Arcanum sect? All right, I won't interfere. However, you must take good care of these two items. I will select a Jiulu Academy disciple to personally teach them. When the time comes, I will come to the Archaic Arcanum sect to retrieve the treasures. Mengling Tian shouted. Thank you, Senior Meng, for granting my wish. The Holy Maiden will definitely not forget. The Holy Maiden smiled. Let's go. Meng Ling Tian flicked his sleeve. Let's go, Fairy shouted. Hum, hum. Qing Wan pulled Fairy and shot far away in an instant. Meng Ling Tian's expression was gloomy as he watched the holy maiden leave. He then looked up at the dark clouds in the sky. After leaving the radiant world, wherever I go, you chase after me. How annoying. Meng Ling Tian shouted at the dark clouds in annoyance. Rumble. The dark clouds rumbled. It was as if they were warning Meng Ling Tian. I know. Go back. I'll go back to the radiant world. Okay? You're the boss. Meng Ling Tian was annoyed and speechless. Chapter 530. The World of Light. Yin Chuan, who had lost himself, gradually regained his senses after the rain stopped and his lust dissipated. Furthermore, for some unknown reason, his blood-red hair slowly turned black and his heartbeat slowed down. Everything returned to normal. The blood sea around him receded. Yin Chuan's cultivation had reached the 5th level of the Qi realm, 2 levels in a row. But Yin Chuan didn't care about his cultivation at this moment because there was a bigger problem in front of him. He was completely naked, and there was a naked woman underneath him. It was Meng Rongrong. Meng Rongrong seemed to have fallen asleep, but the dried tears at the corner of her eyes told him everything that had happened. What? Yin Chuan looked at himself and Meng Rongrong in shock. Suddenly, everything that had happened before flashed through his mind. Thinking about everything that had happened, Yin Chuan's face showed a trace of bitterness. At the same time, he looked down at Meng Rongrong with a trace of guilt in his eyes. He gently got up and carefully pulled himself out of Meng Rongrong's body. Maybe it was a little too big of a movement, or maybe it was because Meng Rongrong's wounds hadn't healed, but Meng Rongrong suddenly felt a pain in her sleep and frowned as she opened her eyes. Suddenly, the two were face to face. Meng Rongrong had just woken up, and her mind was still in a mess. Yin Chuan quickly got up. Ah! Meng Rongrong suddenly reacted and let out a long scream. But soon, Meng Rongrong stopped screaming and curled up, sobbing softly. Yin Chuan looked around for clothes, but there was only a pile of tattered clothes on the floor. There wasn't a single complete piece of cloth. Looking at the sobbing Meng Rongrong, Yin Chuan sighed and said, Miss Meng, what's done is done. Come back with me. Meng Rongrong gently raised her head and looked at Yin Chuan, slightly confused. Go back. Yes, soon I will go back and establish a country. Come back with me and be my empress. Yin Chuan took a deep breath and said, I don't want to, you bastard. I hate you. I hate you. Meng Rongrong suddenly cried again. Yin Chuan frowned, not knowing what to do. After all, he was the one who had gone crazy. While Yin Chuan was thinking about how to comfort Meng Rongrong, suddenly, a round wheel appeared on the ground in front of Yin Chuan, emitting a large amount of white light. It was as if a small altar had appeared out of thin air. Wong, a white light flashed, and a kitten suddenly appeared on the small altar. Meow. Big pervert, you're again? Huh? What did you do just now? Meow. Meow. I didn't see anything. Meow. I didn't see anything. Meow covered her eyes with her small paws, but still secretly looked at the two of them curiously. Yin Chuan. Meng Rongrong. Meow. Quickly take out 2 sets of clothes. Yin Chuan suddenly shouted. I didn't see. Meow. Didn't see. Meow covered her eyes. Stop pretending. Quickly take out the clothes. It's not like I didn't see it last time. Yin Chuan was speechless. Last time, when they fell into the Sound River vortex in the Tiger Tribe's territory, their clothes were indeed torn once. Oh, Meow thought about it and agreed. Meow quickly took out 2 sets of clothes. Yin Chuan handed one to Meng Rongrong. He wore one for himself. You carry it. Meng Rongrong curled up and said. Okay. Yin Chuan nodded. Meow, didn't I see it last time? What's there to be embarrassed about? Meow didn't understand. However, the two of them wouldn't listen to Meow's nagging. They quickly put on their clothes. Chapter 531. Meng Rongrong put on Yin Chuan's clothes again. Meow, there's a pool of blood here. Is someone hurt? Meow jumped to a piece of cloth. Meng Rongrong saw it and immediately snatched it and put it away carefully. Meow, This blood is yours. Why are you snatching it? Meow was speechless. Meng Rong Rong. Meow, how did you get here? Yin Chuan was puzzled. Isn't it your fault? I woke up and found you gone. I asked around, but no one knew. Qing Long and the rest were looking for you everywhere. You didn't even say anything when you went out. Luckily, I'm powerful. I thought about it and appeared in front of you, Meow said proudly. Thought about it, and you appeared? Was it the clan contract you made with me back then? Yin Chuan frowned. When he first met Meow, Meow bit Yin Chuan and made a clan contract. What clan contract? Meow was puzzled. Forget it if you forgot. No, tell me what the clan contract is. Meow insisted. Can you appear in someone else's place? Yin Chuan explained. No, that's right. You made a clan contract with me. Logically speaking, I can summon tigers, especially you. When I summon you, you will be able to sense it. As long as you agree, you could be summoned to me instantly. But I didn't expect you to be able to come here on your own. Yin Chuan said strangely. Meow, when did I make a clan contract with you? Why don't I remember? Meow said in disbelief. Yin Chuan looked at Meow and sighed. He didn't want to explain. The more he talked, the more his head hurt. Meng Rong Rong stood up and picked up the zither that had fallen not far away. She bit her lips and looked at Yin Chuan with a complicated expression. There was hatred in his eyes, as well as another indescribable emotion. Miss Meng Rong Rong? Yin Chuan looked at Meng Rong Rong. Don't call me. I don't want to see you. Meng Rong Rong's voice was filled with shame and anger. Meng Rong Rong stepped forward and walked into the forest. But before he could walk far, a strong light suddenly shone from afar. Boom! It was the nature energy. It instantly filled the miasma area. Without the black rose, the miasma was no match for the nature energy. In the blink of an eye, half of it was purified. Yin Chuan's expression changed. He reached out and grabbed the Jade Emperor sword from the ground. He hugged Meow and looked around solemnly. Rumble. A huge force enveloped Yin Chuan. Meow? What's going on? Meow exclaimed. Whoosh! Whoosh! Yin Chuan and Meng Rong Rong were suddenly pulled up from the ground by a huge force. Apart from Meng Rong Rong, there were also many Confucian cultivators around. In the distance, the entrance to the world of light opened again. Everyone was abruptly pulled out by a tremendous force, all sent out of the light world. Bam! Bam! 60 Confucian cultivators, along with Yin Chuan and Meng Rong Rong, fell into the 100 Sages' righteousness altar. Where are my books? Where are my books? A few Confucian cultivators exclaimed. Puffed, puffed. A few Confucian cultivators kept vomiting water. This was especially true for Confucian Chenping. His stomach had swelled up, and he was on the verge of death. Junior brother Chenping? What happened to him? Lu Zilu asked in a low voice. Chenping can't swim, Wang Long said with an ugly expression. Can't swim? How did you get water all over your bodies? Did you all fall into the river? Lu Zilu asked in a low voice. Yeah, Wang Long nodded, conflicted. Lu Zilu. At the 100 Sages' righteousness altar, a large number of Confucian cultivators were standing guard. Yui glared at them. World of Light, at the entrance of the Hall of Light. Chapter 532. Meng Lingtian looked at Meng Ziqiu coldly. So many people? Meng Ziqiu, what did you do? Meng Lingtian said coldly. Great-grandfather, I was careless. Meng Ziqiu said bitterly. I've already thrown them all out. I don't want there to be a next time. Meng Lingtian said. Yes, there won't be a next time. Meng Ziqiu said immediately. There won't be a next time? Look at the Julu Academy now. What have you done to it? Meng Lingtian said coldly. Meng Ziqiu didn't dare to say anything. Pick a few smart ones among the descendants of the Academy Masters. I'll reopen the entrance to the world of light in a month. Let them in. I'll teach them well. Meng Lingtian said coldly. Yes, Meng Ziqiu said bitterly. At the 100 Saints' altar of righteousness. Meow, why won't you let us go? Meow shouted at the Confucian scholar, blocking the way. Lu Zilu and the others also wanted to leave, but Lu Yi shook his head and refused. At this moment, Meng Ziqiu suddenly stepped out of the world of light. Whoosh! The entrance to the world of light suddenly closed. Meng Ziqiu looked at everyone and finally said, "Let them go." "Yes," the Confucian scholars answered. Yin Chuan glanced at Meng Ziqiu and stepped out with the others. As for Meng Rongrong, she walked at the front. After leaving the plaza, Meng Rongrong quickly flew away. Seeing Meng Rongrong leave, Yin Chuan sighed softly. "Meow? What did you and Meng Rongrong do in there?" Meow asked curiously. Yin Chuan shook his head and didn't say anything. "Did you do something indecent?" Meow's eyes suddenly lit up. "Yin Chuan, wasn't it? Did she do something indecent to you?" Meow's eyes lit up even more. Slap! Yin Chuan slapped Meow's head. "If you talk nonsense again, I'll deduct your spirit stones." Yin Chuan said. "Meow, did I speak? I didn't say anything." Meow feigned ignorance. Yin Chuan smiled. Half a month later. East Hall. Heavens, I'm such an intelligent person, yet I still have to study. Dongfang Zhengpai's cries could be heard from Dongfang Hall. Yin Chuan walked out of the hall curiously. "Yin Chuan, I'm running away. You can stay in the East Palace Hall by yourself. Do you have any spirit stones? Give me some. It'll last me for a while. It's fine if you don't have spirit stones. Give me some of your words, and I'll go sell them." Dongfang Zhengpai ran over and said, "What's going on?" Yin Chuan asked doubtfully. "How would I know? The headmaster came to talk to me and told me to go to a senior's place to further my studies." "Do I still need to further my studies?" Dongfang Zhengpai replied. "Study further?" Yin Chuan was surprised. "Yeah, right, there are a few more. The dean said that his daughter, Meng Rongrong, will be there too." Dongfang Zhengpai said, "Quick, I have to leave. If I don't leave now, I won't have another chance in the future." Dongfang Zhengpai said anxiously. At this moment, 6 figures in white suddenly flew over from afar. It was old Yin and the others. "Why are you guys here?" Dongfang Zhengpai asked curiously. "The dean said that he was worried that you would run away, so he asked us to accompany you," old Yin said with a smile. Dongfang Zhengpai. A month passed in the blink of an eye. The Eastern Orthodox faction was about to embark on a path of darkness. His face was full of frustration. Yin Chuan sent him out of the East Hall, holding a jade box in his hand. "Help me give this jade box to Meng Rongrong." Yin Chuan took a deep breath and said, "Ah." Dongfang Zhengpai looked at Yin Chuan strangely. "Just leave it to her. You don't have to say anything." Yin Chuan said, "Don't tell me that you and Meng Rongrong are really having an affair." "The Tiger Tribe's encampment last time." Dongfang Zhengpai was instantly interested. Scram! Yin Chuan kicked Dongfang Zhengpai's butt. Dongfang Zhengpai hugged the jade box and felt slightly better. He followed old Yin and the others and slowly flew away. Chapter 533. Time passed quickly. There were only 10 days left before the Heavens Gift Conference. More and more experts gathered in Jilu City. The Jilu Academy had become the center of attention in the Centennial Heavens Gift Conference. There were many experts and even a large number of Emptiness Realm experts. The entire Jilu City was filled with crouching tigers and hidden dragons. The East Hall. The hall was wide open. Meow was resting lazily on a small tea chair. Yin Chuan was chatting with a short-haired girl while drinking tea at a small table in the center of the hall. The short-haired girl was dressed in a tight suit. She had a fierce and heroic aura. It was the Emperor, whom he had not seen for many years. "When I came here, I saw a sword aura lingering outside the East Hall. Did you set up a formation?" the Emperor asked while sipping his tea. "The Heavens Gift Conference is approaching. More and more Emptiness Realm experts are gathering here. I have to guard against accidents. You have good eyesight. You can see the formation outside." Yin Chuan smiled while sipping his tea. "I've been here for 3 days. Rumor has it that you want to fight for the God's investiture strategy?" the Emperor asked. "That's right. Why do you want it?" Yin Chuan asked curiously. "I want the Tiance," the Emperor said. "Oh." Yin Chuan was surprised. "My saber can sense your sword. Does that mean that your sword has a sword spirit?" The Emperor looked at the Jade Emperor sword on Yin Chuan's back. "That's right. Since it has a sword spirit, it is not in the rank 9 realm. It seems that you have had a fortuitous encounter in the past few years. The emperor nodded and sighed. How's the investigation of your father's incident? Yin Chuan asked. There are some clues. The emperor shook his head and did not want to say more. I've sorted out some information from 6,000 years ago. I'll give it to you later. As for whether it's useful, you can see for yourself. Yin Chuan took a deep breath and said, Thank you. The emperor nodded. His eyes softened. He came here to ask Yin Chuan to help him collect some information. After all, Yin Chuan had stayed in Jilu City for 2 years. Jilu City definitely had the most historical information. Who would have thought that Yin Chuan was already prepared? The emperor didn't like to talk too much. He just drank his tea quietly. You fought for Tian Su because you wanted to establish a sect? Yin Chuan asked. Something like that. However, I don't like to build. I'll establish a sect and take in 12 disciples. That's all I need to do to fulfill my father's final wish. The emperor said indifferently, 12 apostles? Who knows how many saber cultivators wish to be able to learn under Saber Demon? Yin Chuan said with a smile. The emperor's expression remained indifferent as he continued to drink his tea. Yin Chuan knew that this was not because the empress looked down on him, but because of her personality. Moreover, up until now, Yin Chuan had never seen the empress smile. While the two of them were drinking tea, the clouds and mist outside suddenly swayed. The saintess is here. Qing Long's excited voice came from outside the hall. Qing Long, and by Long, immediately ran to the square. Yin Chuan's expression changed. He stood up and walked out of the hall. The emperor looked at Yin Chuan. There was no dissatisfaction in his eyes. This was his personality. There was no need to be too polite. Yin Chuan walked out of the hall. 10 figures landed on the square. Mou Shi, Rose Finch, Xuan Wu, Mr. Monroe, Guyu Holy Sun, and 5 unfamiliar faces. Guyu Holy Sun? Yin Chuan's eyes flashed with a hint of surprise. Why was he here? Greetings, Saintess. Qing Long, and by Long said respectfully. Mou Shi nodded and turned to look at Yin Chuan. Seeing Yin Chuan, Mou Shi smiled gently. This smile seemed to be filled with endless longing. Chapter 534. Although he didn't know why Guyu Holy Sun was here, Yin Chuan looked at Mou Shi and gave her a trusting smile. This smile touched Mou Shi's eyes, and she slowly walked over. Meow. Sister Mo is here? Meow had woken up and jumped over. Meow. Mou Shi's eyes were filled with joy. She flipped her hand, and a small 7-colored stone fragment appeared in her palm. The stone fragment was very small, but it emitted a powerful aura. Meow. Meow's eyes instantly became heart-shaped. This is an immortal stone fragment I obtained by chance. Do you like it? Mou Shi smiled. Meow, I like it. That's great, that's great. Sister Mo is the prettiest. Meow's mouth was instantly filled with joy. Immortal stone fragment? Saintess Yu Shi, this is an immortal item bestowed by the Holy Master. How can you give it to a little cat? Guyu Holy Sun said in a low voice. Cat your sister. You're the cat. Meow. Meow immediately shouted angrily. Evil creature, what did you say? A bearded expert behind Guyu Holy Sun suddenly glared, and a powerful aura surged out. Mou Shi's face darkened. She waved her hand, and a powerful aura pushed back the expert's aura. Chong-san, you have no right to speak here. Mou Shi glared. The bearded man called Chong-san glared at Mou Shi and took a deep breath. Yes. Mou Shi turned to Guyu Holy Sun and said, Guyu Holy Sun, the immortal stone fragment is mine. You have no right to decide what to do with it. Also, Meow is not a cat. She's a tiger. Meow. Meow said arrogantly. Tiger? Ha! Guyu Holy Sun did not get angry. Instead, he smiled mysteriously. Prince Yin, long time no see. Mr. Monroe smiled. Mr. Monroe, I've been waiting for a long time. Yin Chuan also smiled. Yin Chuan, something happened when we went back to invite Mr. Monroe. Mou Shi took a deep breath and said, Oh, actually, when Yin Chuan saw Guyu Holy Sun, he knew that things were not as simple as they seemed. I asked Mr. Monroe for help, but somehow Mohina Dojin found out about it. MOU, she said. Yin Chuan frowned. Mohina Dojin? Why was it him again? That's right. When my father found out about this, he decided to help you. He sent the 4 strongest people in the Dazhao Holy Land. When Ruo is in charge of painting. This is the Qin King, this is the Chess King, and this is the Book King. They were all sent by my father to help you. You should thank my father. Guyu Holy Sun said calmly. Greetings, Prince Yin. 3 men in scholarly robes walked out from behind Guyu Holy Sun. They looked at Yin Chuan arrogantly. Qin King, Chess King, Book King? Qin King, Chess King, Book King? Yin Chuan looked at the 3 of them with disdain. As the saying goes, a full bottle does not move when half the bottle is shaken. The 3 of them were below him, yet they claimed to be the kings of their respective fields. They were inexplicably looked down upon by Yin Chuan. Ha ha ha, there's no need. Mr. Monroe is enough. I've already prepared for the Qin King, Chess King, and Book King. Yin Chuan shook his head and smiled. Oh, you prepared? Who are they? Are they better than the Qin King and the rest? Guyu Holy Sun raised his eyebrows. Seeing Guyu Holy Sun's expression, Yin Chuan immediately felt that something was amiss. Mohina Dojin sent people to help him? He wasn't familiar with Mohina Dojin at all. He must have some other motive. Hee, you'll know when you see them. Yin Chuan smiled calmly. Chapter 535. Mr. Wang, someone is doubting your Guqin skills. Yin Chuan laughed. As he spoke, the door of the side hall opened. Spider King stepped out and walked towards Yin Chuan. It's you? Guyu Holy Sun's eyes turned cold. Guyu Holy Sun, how have you been? Which one of you is the Qin Emperor? If your Guqin skills are better than mine, I would like to learn from you. Spider King laughed. On the other side, the Qin Emperor revealed an awkward expression. Ha ha, it's you? Did you improve again after our Guqin duel last time? Spider King is looking forward to it. Spider King laughed. The Qin Emperor took a deep breath and sighed. Holy Sun, I'm no match for Spider King. Guyu Holy Sun's eyes flashed. However, his expression remained calm as he said, Who would have thought? Yin Chuan? You're good to have invited Spider King. Yin Chuan appreciates Mohina Dojin's kindness. May I know why Guyu Holy Sun has come to Jilu City? Yin Chuan laughed. At this moment, Yin Chuan was no longer as cautious as before. Instead, he faced Guyu Holy Sun calmly and even spoke in a condescending tone. Guyu Holy Sun was unhappy. How could this ant-like person not be afraid of him? Afraid? How could Yin Chuan be afraid of someone who had tried to kill him several times? MOU, she said. Besides Mr. Monroe, the Qin Emperor, the Chess Emperor, and the Book Emperor, Chongsan and Chongxi are also here to help Guyu Holy Sun fight for the Tiansu. Fight for the Tiansu? Yin Chuan narrowed his eyes. Why is Mohina Dojin fighting for the Tiansu? Chongsan and Chongxi, and the Qin Emperor, the Chess Emperor, and the Book Emperor? Are you trying to steal my investiture of the god strategy? Although he didn't know why Mohina Dojin was doing this, Yin Chuan instantly became vigilant. This time, I'm in charge of fighting for Tiansu, but I can't treat the investiture of the gods lightly. There's still 10 days. Listen to my arrangements. Guyu Holy Sun said lightly. As soon as Guyu Holy Sun spoke, Qing Long, Bai Long, Spider King, and Yi Feng's faces darkened. MOU, she raised her eyebrows. She did not expect Guyu Holy Sun to be so overbearing. He wanted to seize power as soon as he arrived. The fight for the investiture of the gods was Yin Chuan's business. Guyu Holy Sun wanted to interfere. Meow. Meow glared at him. Obviously, it was not happy with Guyu Holy Sun. You? Yin Chuan sneered. That's right. I participated in the Heaven's Gift Conference, so I know most of the procedures. I have my ways to deal with the experts from all sides. I'll make the arrangements. Just listen to me. Guyu Holy Sun said in a low voice. Chongsan, Chongxi, Qin King, Chess King, and Book King all nodded, as if it was a matter of course. Who do you think you are? Yin Chuan said coldly. Who do you think you are? Chongsan and the others were still in a daze after Yin Chuan's words. Yin Chuan said a holy son. Who do you think you are? The square in the East Hall suddenly fell silent. Mou, she was originally angry with Guyu holy son, but after hearing Yin Chuan's words, she felt relieved. Determination flashed in her eyes, and she looked coldly at Guyu holy son with Yin Chuan. The atmosphere in the square suddenly became tense. What did you just say? Guyu holy son's eyes turned cold. Yin Chuan dared to challenge his authority? He was only in the Qi state. Did he have a death wish? Meow. Yin Chuan said, Who do you think you are? Meow jumped onto Yin Chuan's shoulder and threatened Guyu holy son. Guyu holy son glared at him. No matter how well-mannered he was, he could not hold it in anymore. You want me to listen to you? Do you think you're worthy? Yin Chuan said coldly again. Chapter 536. You want me to listen to you? Are you worthy? Yin Chuan said coldly. Are you worthy? Surprise flashed across Mr. Wenrua's eyes. Chong San, Chong Si, Qin King, Chess King, and Book King were in disbelief. Was this kid tired of living? How dare he talk to Guyu holy son like that? The four of them looked at Yin Chuan as if they were looking at a dead man. Guyu holy son's eyes flashed coldly. A powerful aura was released towards Yin Chuan. Was he trying to challenge his authority again and again? A powerful aura was released. The floor beneath Guyu holy son's feet cracked under the pressure and moved towards Yin Chuan. The powerful aura of a middle void stage expert was released towards Yin Chuan. When Mou Yushi saw this, her face immediately sank. Guyu, don't you dare. Mou Yushi glared at him. A powerful aura was released. Mou Yushi's aura was tangible. It was like a huge black phoenix shadow was crashing towards Guyu holy son. Boom! The two auras collided. Guyu holy son's face changed. He looked at Mou Yushi coldly. Mou Yushi, are you trying to go against Mohina Dojin's orders? Guyu holy son asked in a serious tone. Mohina Dojin did not say anything to me. Mou, she said coldly. Yin Chuan held Mou Yushi's hand gently. Mou, she turned her head in confusion. Yin Chuan smiled and pulled Mou Yushi behind him. I have my reasons for saying that he's unworthy. Just watch. Yin Chuan's smile was like the light of dawn on the snowy ground, incomparably radiant. Seeing this, Mou Yushi unconsciously nodded her head, but a trace of curiosity flashed at her eyes. Where did Yin Chuan get his confidence from? In Mou Yushi's eyes, Yin Chuan's cultivation had increased by leaps and bounds. Although he had reached the 5th stage of the Qi Jing realm, he was still in the Qi Jing realm. Although he was a little worried, he still nodded and gave way to Yin Chuan. After handing Miao to Mou Yushi, Yin Chuan turned to look at Guyu holy son. Taking a step forward, Yin Chuan blocked Yifeng, Wang Spider, Mou Yushi, and the others behind him. One person coldly looked at Guyu, one person facing Guyu. Behind him, Yifeng and the others looked at Yin Chuan worriedly and respectfully. They also looked at Guyu as if they were facing a common enemy. Only Wang Spider squinted his eyes, and a trace of complexity flashed across his eyes. Because Wang Spider saw the demeanor of a king from Yin Chuan. The demeanor of a man who could hold back 10,000 men. This was the unique charisma of a leader. It wasn't aura or power. It was just a feeling. Wang Spider saw it from Yao Tianshang. Now he saw it again from Yin Chuan. This was a unique charisma that came from a person's immense confidence. Wang Spider was worried. He wanted to recommend Yin Chuan to Yao Tianshang. But could Yin Chuan really be recommended? Yin Chuan stepped forward and looked at Guyu coldly. Guyu was shocked when he saw Yin Chuan pull Mou Yushi away. Qi State? How dare someone in the Qi State talk back to him? You are not welcome here, except for Mr. Monroe. Take your people and get out of the East Palace. Yin Chuan said in a low voice. Kid, do you want to die? Chong San shouted angrily again. Yin Chuan's eyes turned cold, and a murderous aura shot out from his eyes. Chong San, who was walking towards Yin Chuan, suddenly shivered as if he was frozen by Yin Chuan's glare. Yin Chuan, this is not up to you. You have to listen to my father, whether you want to or not. Guyu holy son said coldly. Chapter 537. With that, Guyu Holy Sun's aura pressed down on Yin Chuan once again. On the ground, the cracks on the floor became even more pronounced. Crack, 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 crack. Guyu Holy Sun wanted to teach Yin Chuan an unforgettable lesson. Screech. The Jade Emperor's sword on Yin Chuan's back suddenly chimed. Swish. The Jade Emperor's sword suddenly flew out by itself. The sword faced Guyu Holy Sun. Suddenly, a huge black sword aura appeared and slashed towards Guyu Holy Sun. Guyu Holy Sun's expression changed as he slapped his palm towards the sword aura. Boom! The sword and palm collided. The Jade Emperor's sword suddenly soared into the sky. It stood firmly in the air as if it was floating. Everyone looked at the Jade Emperor's sword in the air in shock, including Guyu. Buzz! The Jade Emperor's sword suddenly vibrated. Tens of thousands of sword auras emerged from the white clouds around the Eastern Palace's floating island. The sword auras were like torrential rain as they rolled over. The sky was filled with sword shadows. Rumble! In an instant, the Eastern Palace was enveloped by the sword auras. From afar, it looked like a huge storm had enveloped the Eastern Palace. Countless cultivators looked up at the sky and looked in the direction of the Eastern Palace in shock. Rumble! Inside the Eastern Palace's square, there were also countless sword auras. Around Yin Chuan, Mo Shi, and Guyu, there were surging sword auras. The endless sword auras pointed towards Yin Chuan as if they were worshipping Yin Chuan. The endless sword auras bowed towards Yin Chuan 3 times before they suddenly slashed towards Guyu. What is that? Guyu said with a gloomy face. Boom! The storm-like sword chi came from all directions and headed straight for Guyu Holy Sun. You're courting death, Guyu shouted as he raised a huge wall of chi. Boom! 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 Tens of thousands of white sword chi instantly pierced the Holy Sun's chi wall, wave after wave. 10 pitch-black swords suddenly emerged from the ground. Like the sword of the Jade Emperor, they instantly pierced through the air wall and headed straight for Guyu Holy Sun. Boom! Guyu Holy Sun slammed his palm down and collided with the 10 black swords. The huge force instantly sent Guyu Holy Sun flying into the sky. Shing! 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 The white sword chi immediately turned into black sword chi. In an instant, billions of Jade Emperor's swords appeared around the Eastern Hall. They were aimed at Guyu Holy Sun with a bloodthirsty, killing intent. SSSS. 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 His terrifying speed and enormous strength cut Guyu Holy Sun's wall of air again and again like 1,000 knives cutting it into pieces. No, bastard. How is that possible? Guyu Holy Sun screamed. The chi wall of the Middle Emptiness Realm was actually cut apart by the sword chi of 1,000 cuts. Furthermore, the Jade Emperor's sword shadow was like a swarm of locusts. It was getting closer and closer to him. Guyu Holy Sun flipped his hand and took out a long sword. Suddenly, he activated thousands of sword chis and shot them towards the Jade Emperor's sword chis. The Jade Emperor's sword chi was no weaker than Guyu Holy Sun's sword chi. Rumble, wave after wave. The Jade Emperor's sword chi violently washed over Guyu Holy Sun. In the blink of an eye, it was right in front of him. Roar! When had Guyu Holy Sun ever experienced such a dangerous situation? As he roared, the aura around him erupted like a huge explosion. Boom! A huge amount of Jade Emperor's sword chi flew out. However, even more sword chi instantly closed in on Guyu Holy Sun like a swarm of locusts. SSSS. 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 Guyu Holy Sun's hair was messed up and his clothes were riddled with holes. Chapter 538. Boom! Thousands of sword chi retreated 10 feet away from Guyu Holy Sun and aimed at Guyu Holy Sun. Standing in the air, Guyu Holy Sun looked pathetic. The sword chi lined up like an army and faced Guyu Holy Sun coldly. How is this possible? Chong San and Chong Si exclaimed. Yin Chuan stood with his hands behind his back, and Guyu, holy son, looked pathetic. The ancient moon saint child's hair was messy as he looked at Yin Chuan in disbelief. At the same time, he looked at the pitch-black, jade, emperor sword chi around him. Sword array? You can set up a sword array? How is this possible? Your sword has a sword spirit? Guyu, holy son, exclaimed as he looked at Yin Chuan. You know about sword arrays too? Yin Chuan asked calmly. Impossible. Why would a sword spirit listen to you? Sword array? Guyu, holy son, still did not believe Lin Fan. Jade Emperor, chase them out. Yin Chuan ordered. Buzz! In a huge sword storm, a sword chime suddenly sounded, as if it was commanding the thousands of sword chi. Rumble! Countless sword chi surged towards Guyu, holy son, like a raging river. Rumble! Guyu, holy son, tried to defend himself, but the sword array was too powerful. Guyu, holy son, was sent flying and forced out of the East Hall. Do you still want me to invite you out? Yin Chuan looked at Chong San and the others coldly. Chong San and Chong San's hearts raced. Chi State? Is this guy in the Chi State? Let's go, Chong San shouted. Boom! Under the pressure of the sword chi, the 5 of them were forced out of the sword array. Rumble! Sword chi surrounded the East Hall. Guyu, holy son, and the other 3 were forced out of the sword array. Even after they came out, they still felt like they were dreaming. Buzz! Tens of thousands of sword chi suddenly exploded, instantly scattering in all directions and disappearing. In midair, the real Jade King's sword danced for a while. In the blink of an eye, it arrived in front of Yin Chuan. It flew into the sheath on Yin Chuan's back as though it had never come out. A sword spirit? Was it an immortal sword? Immortal sword array? No wonder. Chong San said with an ugly expression. How could Yin Chuan be so lucky to obtain an immortal sword? In this way, once the immortal sword appears and the sword formation is set up, even intermediate illusionary stage cultivators will not be able to harm him. Chong Si said with a complicated expression. Not necessarily. As long as you have a good magic treasure, you can still break the sword formation. What a pity. Chong San said with a conflicted expression. Guyu, holy son, stood in the air and stared coldly at Yin Chuan. Yin Chuan, not killing you back then was the biggest mistake of my life. Guyu, holy son, said with a chilling tone. Yin Chuan looked at Guyu, holy son, and said with disdain, the son of a Taoist lord doesn't have a magic treasure? Huh. Yin Chuan's ha was extremely harsh to Guyu's ears. Magic treasure? None of his magic treasures could compare to that black sword. The son of a Taoist lord? Thinking about the magic treasures of the other sons of Taoist lords, Guyu, holy son, felt an inexplicable hatred for his father. If his father had given him a magic treasure, he would not have been humiliated today. The East Palace does not welcome you. Come again when you can break my Jade King sword formation. Yin Chuan said lightly. Jade King sword formation? Just you wait. Guyu, holy son, said with resentment. Let's go. Guyu, holy son, instantly flew into the distance. The 5 experts followed closely behind, and in the blink of an eye, they left with the ancient moon holy child. Jade King's sword? When did it become so powerful? She looked at the black sword on Yin Chuan's back in surprise. Yin Chuan turned his head and smiled. It's not that simple. I have already set up a formation around here to prevent the emptiness realm cultivators from attacking. I thought I wouldn't need it, but I didn't expect it to come in handy today. I see, Mr. Monroe exclaimed. Chapter 539. Just arrived? Yin Chuan looked at Shi. You've already mentioned this place in your letter, so he naturally rushed over. We've just arrived. Shi nodded. Prince Yin, the sword formation just now was really powerful. Rose Finch said excitedly. At this time, the Emperor walked out of the East Hall. The Emperor's sudden appearance surprised everyone. They all looked at the Emperor. It's her. Rose Finch and Xuanwu's expressions changed. They still remembered how fierce the Empress was last time. Jade Emperor's sword formation? It's a pity that your cultivation is too low. Otherwise, you wouldn't need the assistance of the formation at all. The Emperor said lightly. Yin Chuan smiled and did not refute. Ah, Rose Finch, Xuan Wu, and the others revealed strange expressions. Where do I live? The emperor asked. Yifeng, bring his majesty to the side chamber. Yin Chuan looked at Yifeng. Yes. Yifeng nodded. Mou, she looked at emperor in surprise. In the end, she didn't ask anything. Mr. Monroe looked at emperor curiously. Mr. Monroe, please come in. Yin Chuan said with a smile. All right, when Ruan nodded. Yin Chuan and Mou she looked at each other and smiled. They did not exchange any pleasantries and walked towards the East Hall together. Spider King looked at Yin Chuan with a complicated expression. He shook his head and returned to his side chamber. Qing Long, Bai Long, Rose Finch, and Xuan were waiting outside the hall. Meow, Sister Mo, do you have any more of these immortal stone shards? Meow whispered to Mo Yushi. Meow, you're too greedy. Yin Chuan's face stiffened. Meow, I was just asking. I didn't say I wanted it. Meow felt wronged. I still have one, but it's not with me. If you like it, I'll give it to you in the future. Mo Yushi said. Meow, Sister Mo is the best. Meow's eyes lit up. All these years in Jilu City, I've learned a lot about Mr. Monroe. Yin Chuan is very grateful that Mr. Monroe is willing to help me. Yin Chuan said with a smile. Prince Yin, you flatter me. I'm just an abandoned student who was expelled from the academy. When Ruo said bitterly, abandoned disciple? Haha. On the contrary, I think Mr. Monroe is a genuine person. He didn't hesitate to leave Jilu Academy and go to the Dazhao Holy Land. Yin Chuan took a deep breath and sighed. When Ruo smiled bitterly and said, let's not talk about this. Prince Yin, 2 years ago in Jilu City, he fought a group of Confucians with his literary skills. It shocked the world. Even from a million miles away, I could feel his literary skills. Oh, the news spread that fast? Yin Chuan was surprised. The Heavenly Bestowment Conference is about to begin. Jilu City has already become the focal point of the East. News of any major event will spread to the world. With hundreds of beautiful essays, young Master Yan's name has already spread across the world. Mr. Wen Ruo said with certainty. Spread across the world? Haha, Mr. Monroe, you flatter me. Yin Chuan shook his head and smiled. But Mr. Monroe frowned. What? Prince Yin, you better not look down on Sima Yuntian because of that literary battle. His disciples can't represent Sima Yuntian, Mr. Monroe said seriously. Oh, Prince Yin, what do you think of my painting? When Ruo asked. Although I haven't seen your painting, a lot of information from Jilu Academy shows that Mr. Monroe's painting is unparalleled. Once he paints, he moves the world. He paints the world, Yin Chuan said seriously. Indeed, when my father was still alive, he also admired Mr. Monroe. He said that Mr. Monroe was born for painting. Mo Yushi nodded. When Ruo smiled bitterly and said, perhaps the saint and Prince Yin don't know. My first teacher was Sima Yuntian. Chapter 540. Oh, Yin Chuan narrowed his eyes. This was the first time Yin Chuan had heard of this. Sima Yuntian. I haven't seen him for hundreds of years. He's really a genius. He's good at music, chess, calligraphy, and painting. If Prince Yin hadn't competed with him, I'm sure he would have gotten the investiture of the gods. When Ruo said confidently, how can you be so sure? Then tell me, what kind of person is this great sage Sima Yuntian? Yin Chuan asked solemnly. Yin Chuan had been prepared for this, and he had felt that victory was within his grasp. But now, he didn't expect Mr. Monroe to praise Sima Yuntian so much. Sima Yuntian, Ao, Mr. Monroe said. Ao, I don't know why, but there's a rule in the Jilu Academy. The Sima family can't be the head of the academy. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't become the head of the academy. Sima Yuntian didn't feel good about it, so he gave up the position and traveled the world. I still remember what he said before he left. Mr. Monroe recalled. What did he say? He said that when he returned, he would defeat all the heroes of the Jilu Academy. Mr. Monroe said solemnly. Oh, that's interesting. Yin Chuan's eyes flashed with anticipation. Anyway, Prince Yin, you have to be careful. Since I promised the saint, I'll do my best, Mr. Monroe said with a bitter smile. From Mr. Monroe's tone, Yin Chuan could tell that something was wrong. It was as if Mr. Monroe didn't believe that he could win. He didn't believe that he could win? Sima Yuntian? Was he really that powerful? Thank you. Yin Chuan nodded. Jilu City, on a huge floating island. On the floating island, there was a large hall. The hall of Sima, Lu Zilu, Chun Ping, Wang Long, and a group of scholars stood on both sides. There was a total of 72 white-robed Confucians. Their expressions were extremely respectful as they faced a man sitting on a chair in the north of the Sima Hall. A middle-aged man in a green robe with a tall hat on his head appeared to be around 40 years old. He had a handsome face and a small mustache on his chin. His eyebrows were sharp like swords, and his eyes were sharp. His hands were placed on the armrests, and the middle finger of his right hand was gently tapping the armrest. The middle-aged man looked at the center of the hall. There were a total of 60 chess sets and 101 calligraphy scrolls. Great scholar Lu Zilu stepped out of the ranks and said respectfully, "Teacher, these are all copied by us. At the pinnacle of the literary gathering, we have embarrassed teacher." The azure-robed man was Grand Paragon Sima Yintian. With a wave of his hand, a feather fan appeared in his palm. Mr. Monroe also had one, but Mr. Monroe's feather fan was white, while Sima Yuntian's was green, as if it was made of peacock feathers. Good writing. Good poem. Good poem. Sima Yuntian suddenly laughed. Sima Yuntian didn't blame his disciple. Instead, he felt like he had seen a hunter. At this moment, another great scholar stepped out and said, "Teacher, I have also seen these poems. 101 pieces, 101 styles. It's really incredible." Sima Yuntian nodded and didn't object. "Teacher, will this person be an obstacle to teacher?" Lu Zilu asked worriedly. Sima Yuntian smiled and said, "Just these poems are not enough. There's no need to worry." Yes, all the great scholars were overjoyed. "Teacher, I have also memorized these 60 chess sets. When the time comes, I will not disappoint teacher." Another disciple said respectfully. Chapter 541. Sima Yuntian looked at the 60 chessboards. His eyes flashed with admiration. "Teacher, is the place we entered really called the World of Light? You knew about it before?" Lu Zilu asked curiously. "Yes, I knew about it long ago, but I never went in. It's a pity," Sima Yuntian said lightly. "Oh." Lu Zilu did not say anything else. "Go and prepare," Sima Yuntian said lightly. "Yes." The disciples nodded. Then they all left the hall. Sima Yuntian was the only one left in the hall. He sat in the hall and looked at Jilu Mountain outside the hall. Sima Yuntian am back. I mean what I say. The God investiture strategy? I don't just want the God investiture strategy. I want justice for my Sima family." Sima Yuntian's eyes shone. 10 days passed in the blink of an eye. The Heavenly Bestowment Conference was about to begin. East Hall. A large number of Confucian cultivators had already gathered outside the hall. Yin Chuan did not know most of these Confucian cultivators. They came of their own accord. After the peak literary meeting, Yin Chuan's name had spread throughout Jilu City. He was worshipped by thousands of Confucian cultivators. These Confucian cultivators were convinced by Yin Chuan's literary talent. They came of their own accord with blind worship. It was not to befriend Yin Chuan, but to witness a new miracle today. Yin Chuan, Mo Yushi, Emperor Yifeng, Wang Zhu, Qing Long, and the others came out of the East Hall and were greeted by a large number of Confucian cultivators. "Greetings, Mr. Yin, Mr. E," the Confucian cultivators said. Yin Chuan looked at the Confucian cultivators and nodded. He stepped forward and led everyone to the venue of the Heavenly Bestowment Conference. Thousands of Confucian cultivators followed behind and rushed to the Heavenly Bestowment Square. The so-called Heavenly Bestowment Square was actually the square outside the 100 Saints' Altar of Righteousness. The registration in the past was at the God Investiture Hall there. Yin Chuan and his group were followed by thousands of Confucian cultivators. On the other side, Sima Yuntian straightened his long robe and flew towards the Heaven's Gift Square with his 72 disciples. Just like Yin Chuan, behind Sima Yuntian were tens of thousands of Confucian cultivators. Today, there were countless practitioners, but most of them were in small groups. In the entire Jilu city, only Yin Chuan and Sima Yuntian could gather such a large group of scholars. If one were to look down at Jilu city from above, they would realize that Yin Chuan and Sima Yuntian were like the moon surrounded by stars. They were the two brightest pearls in the city. It was as if the Heaven's Gift Conference was held solely for these two bright pearls. On the way to the Heaven's Gift Square, more and more people gathered. The group grew larger and larger. On the Heaven's Gift Square, Meng Ziqiu and the others had not yet arrived, but there were already countless experts from various sects gathered there. Especially at the entrance of the main hall, the ancient Yu Holy Child and his 5 subordinates were looking coldly at the crowd in the distance. Seeing that one of the groups was led by Yin Chuan, Yu Holy Sun's face darkened. There were already more than 8,000 people gathered in the square. They were all sects competing for the Tian Su. A gathering of more than 8,000 people was rare in the past Heaven's Gift Conferences. The Heaven's Gift Conference was a competition for the Tian Su and the God's Bestowment strategy. But in the past, only the Tian Su was the main character. A gathering of more than 8,000 people was very spectacular. Previously, they did not think much of the competition for the God's Bestowment strategy. After all, there were only 2 people. How big a scene could it be? However, the vast group in front of them petrified the cultivators of the countless sections. Are my eyes playing tricks on me? There are more than 30,000 people on Yin Chuan's side. Sima Yuntian's side also has more than 30,000 people. So many people? What are they doing? Competing for the God's Bestowment strategy. This momentum is too exaggerated. The scene of 60 to 70,000 people suddenly paled in comparison to the grand scene of the Tian Su. The difference was almost 10 times. Chapter 542. The World of Radiance. In a small forest, the beautiful sound of a zither echoed through the forest. A large number of birds had appeared in the forest. The birds circled the forest and danced in the air. Ding! The sound of the zither suddenly stopped. Chirp, 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 chirp. The birds scattered in all directions. There was an exquisite house in the forest. Outside the house, Meng Rongrong, dressed in white, hugged her zither and sighed. She turned her head and looked at a jade box on a stone table. Looking at the jade box, Meng Rongrong could not help but tear up. She grabbed the jade box and wanted to open it, but she could not do so. Should she open it? Perhaps if she opened it, it would mean that she had given in and forgiven that bastard. No, I will never forgive you, bastard, bastard. Wiping her tears, Meng Rongrong let go of the jade box, but she did not open it. Instead, she kept the jade box. After keeping the jade box, Meng Rongrong looked up at the sky with a disappointed expression. Sigh. After packing up her zither, Meng Rongrong carried it back to her house. At the peak of a mountain not far away, 2 people stood at the peak of the mountain, Dongfang Zhengpai and Meng Lingtian. The 2 of them watched as Meng Rongrong entered the house. Dongfang Zhengpai, what was in the jade box? Meng Lingtian asked. How would I know? Old Meng, no. Teacher, how many times have you asked me? How would I know? Dongfang Zhengpai said gloomily. You were the one who gave me the jade box. Who else should I ask? Meng Lingtian said. I really don't know. Why don't you expel me from the sect and let me out? The Heavenly Bestowment Conference has already begun, and you won't let me watch. Dongfang Zhengpai complained. Meng Lingtian looked at Dongfang Zhengpai. Dongfang Booby, how did you have a descendant like you? Meng Lingtian asked with a strange expression. That's just how I am. Isn't it good to live a carefree life? Isn't it tiring to think so much every day? Teacher, I think you should just leave me to fend for myself. In any case, I'm useless. Dongfang Zhengpai said expectantly. Oomph. Even if you're trash, I'll still educate you into a rock. Otherwise, how would I explain it to the founding ancestor when I arrive at the immortal dimension? You give up on this thought. Among this group of people, if you don't reach number 1, You can forget about going out forever. Mengling Tian said in a solemn voice. Heavens, how can you do this? That Meng Rongrong is your grandchild. You should take care of her. Why are you staring at me? Dongfang Zhongpai lamented. Meng Rongrong doesn't need me to worry. She only needs to look at that jade box once, and her zither Dao will improve once. Don't you feel it? The sound of the zither just now was not deliberate at all, but it was full of vitality, like a flock of birds gathering. Mengling Tian stroked his beard and smiled with satisfaction. Every time I look at the jade box, I can level up once. Damn, why didn't Yinchuan give me a jade box? Dongfang Zhongpai was speechless. Scoundrel, cultivating the way of the sage, you actually spout such filthy words. Go back and copy the words of the sage 100 times. Mengling Tian said coldly. Heavens, it's too dark. Dongfang Zhongpai cried. You actually dare to say that my teaching is dark? Copy it 200 times. Mengling Tian shouted. No. Dongfang Zhongpai's miserable voice came from the radiant world. Heaven's Gift Square. Yinchuan arrived at the Heaven's Gift Square with more than 30,000 Confucian cultivators. Similarly, on the other side, Sima Yuntian also arrived at the square with more than 30,000 Confucian cultivators. Chapter 543. From afar, Yinchuan saw Sima Yuntian, and Sima Yuntian also saw Yinchuan. The rules of the Heaven's Gift Square forbade flying, so everyone naturally landed on the square. Far away, Yinchuan and Sima Yuntian suddenly stopped in the middle of the plaza. The two of them faced each other and looked at each other from a distance. The 70,000 Confucian cultivators all held their breaths. Looking at the two hot favorites for the God's Bestowment Scroll, their eyes were filled with anticipation. The competition for the God's Bestowment Scroll had yet to begin, so would the two start fighting? This was also the first time Yinchuan sized up Sima Yuntian. In an instant, Yinchuan's gaze shifted to Sima Yuntian's eyes. Those were a pair of extremely bright eyes, filled with a sense of wisdom, and at the same time, a sense of arrogance that ignored everything. Yinchuan's eyes flashed, as if he thought of something, and smiled meaningfully. As for Sima Yuntian, it was unknown what he thought of, but he also smiled meaningfully. The two looked at each other and smiled, then ignored each other and walked deeper into the square. The 70,000 Confucian cultivators were at a loss. The first confrontation between the two was over. Was this a confrontation? A mutual smile? Experts are indeed different. Yeah, maybe they already fought just now, but you and I couldn't see it. They're both people with great wisdom. How could you see it? Around Guyu Holy Sun, there was a burst of discussion. Yinchuan and Sima Yuntian looked at each other and smiled brightly. In Guyu Holy Sun's ears, he felt uncomfortable. The ants that should be crawling under his feet were now being praised by everyone. He was the Holy Son of the Holy Land, someone whose status was equal to the Julu Academy's president, but he was ignored like this? Taking a deep breath, Guyu Holy Sun suppressed the irritation in his heart. This time, his father had given him a mission. He could not afford to make any more mistakes. At this moment, a large number of Julu Academy disciples rushed out from the mouth of the mountain on the 100 Saints' righteousness altar. The fog around the mouth of the mountain slowly dissipated. One could vaguely see Meng Ziqiu, Yu-E, and 5 white-robed elders bowing respectfully to Goddess Jichen in the 100 Saints' righteousness altar. After 3 bows, the 7 of them turned around and looked at the Heaven's Gift Square. And Mo Yushi explained, Meng Ziqiu, Yu-E, and those 5 old men are all virtuous paragons of the Julu Academy. They usually don't care about the administration of the Academy and are probably traveling around. They only came back for the conference. Virtuous paragons? Yinchuan looked at the 7 and gently nodded his head. Meng Ziqiu was at the front with the 6 paragons behind him. They walked to the edge of the mountain and looked at the tens of thousands of people in the square. Meng Ziqiu took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, "The Heavenly Bestowment Conference has officially begun. Please send a token to the heavens." "Please, Tianxi." "Yes." The group of Confucians shouted. Then the Confucians in the Sky Hall and the God Bestowment Hall respectfully took out tokens. In the God Bestowment Hall, there were 2 tokens with Yin Chuan and Sima Yuntian written on them. In the Sky Hall, there were many tokens. A total of 800 tokens with 800 names were taken out, representing 800 sections. The tokens were sent to the 100 Saints' righteousness altar and to the feet of Goddess Jichin. At this moment, 2 white altars appeared under Goddess Jichin's feet. They looked like 2 huge pieces of white jade floating in the air. One of them had the word God Bestowment written on it, while the other had the word Heaven written on it. Yin Chuan and Sima Yuntian's tokens went up to the God Bestowment altar. The other 800 went up to the rooftop. Meng Ziqiu flicked his robe and looked at Goddess Jichin's statue. The entire Heaven's Gift Square was silent. Everyone was looking at Meng Ziqiu. Today, the successor of the Jiulu Academy, Meng Ziqiu, kowtows to Goddess Jichin and the heavens. 100 years have passed in a hurry. The world is blessed and prosperous. With my life token as a witness, I ask the heavens for a reward. I hope the heavens will reward me and make the world prosper. Meng Ziqiu shouted. After that, golden light suddenly shot out from Meng Ziqiu's body and into the Sea of Providence. Roar, 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 roar. Above the Sea of Providence, the 5 golden dragons of Providence suddenly roared and shot into the sky. Then 2 of the 5 golden dragons of luck suddenly swooped down. Their roars were mixed with a strong sense of excitement. Roar, roar. The 2 dragons rushed down and opened their mouths to bite the God Bestowment altar and the rooftop. With the 2 altars in their mouths, they flew toward Goddess Jichin's statue with more than 800 names and slowly rose into the sky. Boom! They rushed through the Sea of Providence and continued to soar into the sky. Boom! 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 For a moment, the distant sky was filled with lightning and thunder. Countless bolts of lightning kept striking the 2 dragons. Their bodies gradually faded, but they continued to soar into the sky. They broke through the layers of thunder clouds and soared into the sky until they couldn't be seen anymore. Pray to the heavens! Pray to the heavens! Meng Ziqiu shouted. On the Heaven's Gift Square, almost everyone bowed respectfully to Goddess Jichin, including Yin Chuan and Sima Yuntian. Everyone was silently waiting. About 2 hours later, boom! There was a sudden explosion in the sky. The sound was so loud that it seemed to resound through the entire world. Whoosh! Whoosh! 2 weak golden dragons fell from the sky. They were the golden dragons of Providence from before. The 2 golden dragons of Providence were extremely illusory, as if they were about to dissipate. Boom! The 2 dragons fell into the Sea of Providence. Whoosh! A large amount of Providence gathered toward the 2 dragons. The 2 dragons fell asleep, exhausted. Boom! Boom! 2 beams of golden light fell from the sky and crashed into the Sea of Providence. Roar! 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 The remaining 3 golden dragons of Providence circled around the 2 beams of golden light. The golden light gradually condensed into 2 huge scrolls. On the scrolls were the words Heaven and Investiture of the Gods. Hum! Hum! The 2 scrolls were connected to the power of the Sea of Providence. Suddenly, 802 beams of light shot down, instantly enveloping the 802 people below. Yin Chuan, Sima Yuntian, and a large number of people who had participated in the battle for the Tian-Su. Boom! The endless dark clouds in the sky dispersed. Apart from the 2 scrolls in the Sea of Providence, the world was bright as if nothing had happened. Heaven's gift, Tian-Su, an investiture of the gods. The Jiulu Academy will arbitrate. Everyone, let's decide who the Tian-Su belongs to. Meng Ziqiu shouted. Boom! The Heaven's Gift Square trembled. Then, a huge square platform that was 100 feet wide and 10 feet tall slowly protruded. Above the Sea of Providence, a large amount of golden light shone, illuminating the huge platform. Goddess Jichin, please bear witness. The battle for the Tian Su begins, Meng Ziqiu said respectfully. Chapter 544. Jilu City, Heaven's Gift Square. The golden light of Providence illuminated the huge arena below. The surroundings of the arena seemed to have formed a huge cover, preventing too much of the impact from leaking out. Two peerless experts were fighting on the arena. Both of them cultivated their physical bodies and fought with their fists. Boom, boom, boom. Their powerful fists collided with each other, creating a deafening boom. Those who ascended the ring were practically all lower void stage powerhouses. Its might was also extremely vast. One could see the forceful twisting of the air within. If it were not for the barrier formed by the sea of Providence clouds covering the arena, it would definitely have spread to the surroundings. Guyu Holy Sun sat on a chair with 5 subordinates standing behind him. Among them, Chong 3 and Chong 4 were enveloped in a golden light. It was obvious that Chong 3 and Chong 4 had signed up to compete for the Tian Su. Chong-san, what do you think? Guyu Holy Sun asked calmly. Holy Sun, don't worry. Chong Si and I have both reached the late stage of the inferior emptiness stage. We will definitely obtain the final victory, Chong-san said solemnly. Guyu Holy Sun said in a deep voice, don't let your guard down. 800 people, almost all of them are in the lower void realm. You guys are definitely not the only ones who have reached the late stage of the lower void realm. Yes, let them fight first. When everyone is exhausted, Chong Si and I will join in. Chong-san nodded. Holy Sun, don't worry. I'm here to assist Chong-san this time. I'll definitely help Chong-san win to the end, Chong Si said solemnly. Guyu Holy Sun nodded in satisfaction. Father purposely expelled all of you from the Dazhao Holy Land for today. Once we obtain the Tian Su, all of you will once again become perfected beings of the Dazhao Holy Land. Furthermore, all of you will be allocated the same resources as me, perfected lords. Yes, we will definitely win the Tian Su, Chong-sen said excitedly. Guyu Holy Sun nodded and turned to look coldly at Yin Chuan. Yin Chuan was also enveloped in a golden light, but it was the golden light of the God Bestowment Scroll. However, a short-haired lady behind him was enveloped in the golden light of the Tian Su. Do you see that lady? Guyu Holy Sun said. Chong-san and Chong Si were puzzled. When the time comes, kill him, Guyu Holy Sun said coldly. You holy son of the holy sun of the Holy Land. The Emperor's 5 emptiness scroll. The holy sun emperors of the heavens. Perhaps the Emperor's senses were too strong. He instantly sensed the killing intent directed at him and turned his head. The of the Holy Land of you, of the Tian land, of the Holy land. The Emperor's look was even more contemptuous than that of Yin Chuan. Guyu Holy Sun was enraged. You are just an immortal state warrior. How dare you? Guyu Holy Sun's eyes flashed coldly. The murderous look in his eyes intensified. However, the Emperor was no longer looking at him. It was as if he was a nobody. Guyu Holy Sun was frustrated by the Emperor's attitude. Bastard! Guyu Holy Sun crushed the armrest of his chair in anger. Boom! There was a loud noise in the arena. Puffed. One of the fighters spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground. He had lost. Buzz. The golden light that enveloped him suddenly shifted to the winner. Tian Su had announced the result. I lost. The man who fell to the ground said bitterly. Oof. The winner did not give up and kicked the loser's leg with a loud bang. Crack. Chapter 545. The loser's leg was broken by the kick. Ah, who told you to hurt me? I'll break your leg and teach you a lesson. The winner roared. Meng Ziqiu frowned and said, Fierce barbarian, he has already admitted defeat. Why do you have to kill him? Meng Ziqiu, I respect you as the dean of Jilu Academy, but the arena is our battlefield. I'll kill you if I want to. Fierce barbarian shouted. Meng Ziqiu raised his eyebrows and took a deep breath. He didn't say anything because he knew that those who fought from the beginning would rarely make it to the end. Fierce Barbarian was so arrogant that there must be other experts who would teach him a lesson. Okay, Fierce Barbarian wins. Who else? Meng Zichio shouted. Meng Zichio's shout made many cultivators consider. After all, it was just the beginning. Only those hotheads would fight so early. At this time, Empress, who was next to Yin Chuan, suddenly took a step forward. Huh? MOU, she said in surprise. Don't worry about her, Yin Chuan said with a smile. Okay, MOU, she nodded. Empress stepped forward. Because the battle had begun, the arena was empty. Empress stepped forward and immediately attracted everyone's attention, especially when she stepped out next to Yin Chuan. Sima Yuntan, Meng Zichio, and the others were curious. Fighter, Empress. A Confucian cultivator who was in charge of recording immediately announced Empress's name. Empress stepped onto the arena. Empress? Countless cultivators around guessed who she was. Ha ha, little girl, your thighs are not even half as thick as my arms. You want to fight me? Fierce Barbarian laughed. Little girl, what's your cultivation now? Fierce Barbarian laughed evilly. God Realm, Empress said indifferently. God Realm? Ha ha, you're only in the God Realm? Although you're a little cold, I like this kind of woman. Fierce Barbarian suddenly laughed. Get down now, and I'll spare your life. Empress said coldly. Spare my life? A little God Realm cultivator? How about I let you use one hand and one foot? Fierce Barbarian stepped forward. Countless experts around them all looked at Empress pitifully. It's over. A God Realm cultivator dares to step onto the arena? She came with Yin Chuan? It doesn't matter who he comes with. That Fierce Barbarian is too fierce. Yeah, what a pity. Meng Man walked over proudly as people were talking about him. You've already lost your chance. The Emperor raised his head and narrowed his eyes. Shing. There was a sound of a knife, and a green light flashed. Meng Man, who was walking forward, suddenly stopped in his place. His eyes were full of disbelief. Boom! The head of the fierce barbarian suddenly fell to the ground. Blood spurted 3 feet high from his neck. Gulyalu! The fierce barbarian's head rolled to the side. All the cultivators in the surroundings suddenly fell silent. Wasn't this too fast? If they hadn't seen the bronze saber in the Emperor's hand, no one would have believed that the saber attack just now was actually the Emperor's. The square was completely silent. After 5 breaths of time, it was as if a pot had exploded. Impossible. She can't be in the divine realm. Meng Man was careless? It must be. She sneaked an attack. Am I dreaming? There was a lot of noise around, but Meng Zichio saw clearly that the Emperor was indeed in the divine realm. Only in the divine realm? However, this was too exaggerated. How could he kill someone who was at a higher level than him so cleanly? Meng Zichio suddenly had a feeling, and a figure suddenly flashed in his mind. Yin Tao. Yes, Yin Tao. 100 years ago, Yin Tao also killed people in this arena with his divine realm cultivation. He won the Tian Su in one fell swoop, and the name of Blood Demon spread all over the world. Chapter 546. Was the Empress in front of them the same? Moreover, she came with Yin Chuan? Buzz. The golden light that was originally gathered on barbarian Meng suddenly gathered on the Empress. The Empress has won. Who else wants to fight? Meng Zichio shouted. Meng Zichio's shout made the experts believe the truth in front of them. Fight? Who's going to fight now? For a moment, the crowd was silent again. The Empress looked around and suddenly focused on Guyu Holy Sun. Who wanted to kill me just now? Come on. The Empress said lightly. The Empress's words immediately attracted everyone's attention to Guyu Holy Sun. Guyu Holy Sun? Is she provoking Guyu Holy Sun? Suddenly, someone was surprised. Guyu Holy Sun narrowed his eyes. Chong San and Chong Si narrowed their eyes, full of murderous intent. They clenched their fists and looked at Guyu Holy Sun, waiting for Guyu Holy Sun's order. What's wrong? Are you afraid now? Come on up together. The Empress said lightly. The Empress's indifferent tone had a huge impact. Many people knew Chong San and Chong Si. They were at the advanced stage of the lower void realm. Was this woman crazy? She was just lucky just now. Now she wanted to compete with Chong San and Chong Si. She even wanted to fight 1 against 2. She's crazy. This empress is sick in the head. Even if she wants to die, she shouldn't have come here. The crowd didn't believe the empress, but Guyu Holy Sun couldn't sit back and do nothing. Chong Si, you go. Guyu Holy Sun said lightly. Yes, I'll take this crazy man's head. Chong Si nodded. Buzz. Chong Si took out a long saber and stepped on the high platform. Show me what you're capable of. How dare you challenge me? Chong Si's eyes were cold. Whoosh. The Empress's speed reached a terrifying level. In just a moment, a black shadow shot toward Chong Si like a sharp arrow. Screech. Bam. The sound of the long saber cutting through the wind and the sound of blood gushing out could be heard. The Emperor stopped behind Chong Si. Gulyulu. Chong Si's head rolled to the ground. Clean and nimble, even cleaner and nimbler than before, too fast. Killed with a single strike. SSSS. 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 Gasps could be heard all around. Chong Si. Chong San suddenly roared. Chong San and Chong Si were blood brothers. How could their younger brother die in the blink of an eye? Chong Si was too careless. Guyu Holy Sun's face darkened. Guyu Holy Sun could see the Emperor's speed clearly, but Chong Si could not. In the blink of an eye, his head rolled to the ground. Shing! Chong San raised his saber, and his eyes were bloodshot. He was about to take his revenge on the arena. Chong San, Guyu Holy Sun shouted coldly. Holy Sun, she killed my brother. Chong San Jiaohu said. Stop right there. Guyu Holy Sun shouted. After being shouted at by Guyu Holy Sun, Chong San calmed down a lot. No matter how unwilling he was, he could only listen angrily. He stood behind Guyu Holy Sun and looked at the Emperor on the arena with murderous eyes. The golden light around the Emperor deepened again. Emperor, who else wants to fight? Meng Ziqiu frowned and shouted. After Meng Ziqiu shouted, the crowd fell silent again. Many people did not know the Emperor well. Just now, 2 lower void stage experts had died in a daze. The strong cultivators fell silent or started to discuss. The Emperor stood on the arena and looked around, seeing that no one was coming up. A trace of contempt flashed in his eyes. Come up together, the Emperor said indifferently. For a moment, the square was so quiet that one could hear a pin drop. Some cultivators could not believe what they had just heard and dug their ears. Senior brother, did you hear that? What did the Emperor say? A cultivator looked at the cultivator beside him and asked. The Emperor said, come up together. Another cultivator said with a strange expression. Did I hear wrongly? The Emperor's words were like a challenge to the 800 Emptiness Realm experts. He was challenging all the strong cultivators. Come up together? Come up together. Come up together. Chapter 547. Transin Tian, Su, come at me together. Arrogant. Incomparably arrogant. The Heaven's Gift Square was in an uproar. There was only one person who was making noise, the Emperor who was standing in the arena. A woman in the immortal state. She dared to say such arrogant words after killing 2 lower void realm cultivators. Come at me together? She was looking down on the 800 cultivators who were fighting for the Tian Su. She was looking down on them. Meng Ziqiu frowned and looked at the Emperor. Was the woman in front of him too murderous? No, it was more like she didn't care about these opponents at all. She just wanted to get the Tian Su as soon as possible. Sima Yin Tian sat on a chair at the side. A disciple served him tea respectfully. Sima Yin Tian sipped the tea and looked at the Emperor on the arena with narrowed eyes. Then, Sima Yin Tian looked at Yin Chuan, who was not far away. Will the Emperor be in danger? Mo Yushi asked worriedly. Don't worry. Yin Chuan shook his head. Although the Emperor was only in the immortal state, he had inherited the legacy of the most powerful man in the world 10,000 years ago. His father, the Knife Demon, was even a powerful immortal. It would be strange if the Emperor was defeated here. Yes, Mo Yushi nodded. At the Guyu Holy Sun's place. You're courting death. Chong San looked at the Emperor coldly. The emperor looked coldly at the crowd and said, I won't kill those who admit defeat. If you want to die, come at me. Damn it. I'm being looked down on by a little girl. Arrogant girl, you're courting death. Humph, you can live with your sins, but you can't live with your sins. Suddenly, 10 lower void realm cultivators stepped on the arena. Each of them held their own weapons and surrounded the emperor. Even though they were bullying the weak with numbers, the 10 experts didn't dare to be careless. The 2 lower void stage experts who died just now were examples. Moreover, all the lower void stage experts understood that when the emperor killed them, he didn't just chop off their heads, he also destroyed their primordial spirits. 2 lower void realm cultivators were killed cleanly and cleanly. Kill, kill, kill. The 10 cultivators rushed at the emperor almost at the same time. The emperor's eyes turned cold as he stomped his foot. Boom! A vast amount of saber chi instantly erupted from the arena. Millions of saber chi seemed to come from the ground and soared into the sky. It was like a great river flowing against the heavens. The cold saber chi instantly caused the temperature of the entire Heaven's Gift Plaza to drop by a lot. Rumble. Surging saber chi soared into the sky, instantly enveloping the 10 experts. From the outside, one could not see the figure inside at all. One could only see the vast and mighty saber chi soaring into the sky. Hiss! Saber sea? What a terrifying sea of sabers. Is it from the emperor? Is she really in the god realm? The crowd was filled with astonishment. Guyu Holy Sun's expression changed. This sea of knives was too similar to the Jade Emperor's sword formation that he had humiliated 10 days ago. However, one was a knife and the other was a sword. Guyu Holy Sun's expression darkened as he looked at Yin Chuan, who was not far away. Yin Chuan's expression remained indifferent, as if it was a matter of course. The tens of thousands of cultivators in the surroundings all watched in shock. Bam! The vast sea of knives disappeared from the plaza in an instant. The emperor's short hair swayed slightly as he stood in the center of the plaza and looked around coldly. Pong! 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 10 heads rolled on the ground again. Blood spurted from their necks. The 10 experts all fell to the ground. The Heaven's Gift Plaza fell into silence again. Meng Ziqiu also looked at the emperor with a blank face at this moment. Chapter 548. How many heavenly gifts conferences had they been through? Even Yin Tao wasn't as exaggerated as this. Was this killing? Was this harvesting? All the golden light gathered toward the emperor. The emperor stood on the arena, looking extremely dazzling. He glanced around coldly. Those who admit defeat can live. The emperor looked down at the audience and said, Those who admit defeat can live? At this moment, no one dared to criticize the emperor anymore. His terrifying killing speed was simply cheating. How could they compete like this? Standing on the square, the crowd couldn't calm down for a long time. The emperor's gaze fell on a cultivator. I admit defeat, the cultivator said with difficulty. But when he said that, he felt a burst of joy in his heart. The golden light instantly withdrew from the cultivator and gathered toward the emperor. The first person admitted defeat. Next, the surrenders were like a plague, starting from the first person and quickly spreading in all directions. The emperor's gaze landed on all the people who admitted defeat. I admit defeat. I admit defeat. I admit defeat. Meng Ziqiu and Lu Yi looked at each other. Dean, what's the background of this emperor? He's even more exaggerated than Yin Tao. Lu Yi said bitterly. I'm not sure. Yin Tao, Yin Chuan, and the emperor, these people are all strange. Meng Ziqiu sighed slightly. In the blink of an eye, there were nearly 500 people who admitted defeat in the square. But in the end, there were still people who didn't admit defeat. The last Heavenly Gifts Conference was Yin Tao, and this time it's the emperor. When will it be our turn? If we can't get the tea on, so we won't be able to live until the next Heavenly Gift Conference. Since we're going to die anyway, let's fight together. An old man shouted. Okay. Immediately, hundreds of cultivators jumped into the arena. The emperor's eyes turned cold. With a flip of his hand, the emperor took out a golden pill. As soon as the pill was taken out, a refreshing fragrance could be smelled even below the arena. A quasi-immortal pill. Meng Zichio's expression changed. You said that's a quasi-immortal pill? The best pill below the immortal pills? Lu Yi said in surprise. That's right. But why is she taking the medicinal pills? Meng Zichio asked, puzzled. The emperor swallowed the quasi-immortal pill and looked coldly at the 100 peerless experts. 100 lower void realm experts surrounded the emperor. 1 against 100? The spectating cultivators all had expectant expressions. It was unknown whether they were anticipating the emperor's victory or the emperor's defeat. Guyu Holy Sun narrowed his eyes and stared at the emperor. 100 lower void realm cultivators besieging him? Even he would be in a difficult situation. Emperor? He was dead meat. Boom! Just like before, the violent saber chi once again enveloped the entire arena. The surging saber chi soared into the sky and enveloped everyone on the arena in the blink of an eye. Roar! Kill this girl! Let's attack together! Quick! Rumble! Within the storm of blade energy, the roars of hundreds of emptiness realm experts could be heard. Then, the rumbling sounds of battle could be heard. Emperors were strong, but there was a limit to it. After all, their cultivation was limited. It was impossible to kill 100 lower void realm cultivators as easily as before. Rumble, fierce battle, sounds could be heard from the storm of blade energy. Just as everyone was looking forward to it, a large number of black clouds suddenly gathered above the Sea of Providence. Rumble, the black clouds gathered, and countless lightning flashed in the black clouds. A vast heavenly might pressed down on the arena below. 49 heavenly tribulations? Someone suddenly exclaimed. Someone is going through the 49 heavenly tribulations on the arena. 49 heavenly tribulations are for those in the consummate stage of the God Realm. The God Realm cultivator on the arena seems to be. Chapter 549. The Sovereign. Is she crazy? Why is she undergoing the tribulation at this time? Is the Sovereign undergoing the tribulation? Amidst the exclamations of countless cultivators, hundreds of lightning bolts descended from the sky, heading straight for the arena. Rumble. On the arena, lightning bolts and saber chi mixed together. The entire arena seemed to have exploded. Looking from afar, it was extremely resplendent. The surrounding cultivators looked at this scene in horror. Is the Sovereign trying to drag everyone down with her? No, I admit defeat. A scream came from the arena. However, the Sovereign did not answer him. The huge impact was still coming from the arena. Rumble. After an entire incense stick's worth of time, suddenly, everyone saw that in the storm of saber chi, there seemed to be a vast azure saber chi that was 300 meters wide and 3,000 meters long. Wong. As soon as the vast azure saber chi appeared, killing intent spread out. The surrounding air immediately turned cold in the killing intent. Snowflakes drifted down. The azure saber chi soared into the sky, rushed through the luck cloud sea, and headed straight for the tribulation clouds of the 4 and 9 heavenly tribulation. That is impossible. People thought of a possibility, but no one was willing to admit it. Everyone's hearts seemed to have stopped beating as they stared at the azure saber chi with soaring, killing intent in the sky. They did not even blink. It was getting closer and closer to the tribulation clouds. The vast tribulation clouds of the 4 and 9 heavenly tribulation were cut in half by the azure saber chi. The heavenly tribulation was cut in half. In the square, countless cultivators were dumbfounded as they looked at the tribulation clouds that were cut in half. That was the nightmare of many divine realm cultivators. Only the heavenly tribulation could trample on people. How could they see a person killing a heavenly tribulation? Killing a heavenly tribulation? That was a joke, but it happened in front of everyone. That graceful saber strike was imprinted in everyone's mind. They might not be able to forget it for the rest of their lives. Rumble. The tribulation clouds were cut in half by the azure saber chi, announcing that the tribulation was over. The tribulation clouds slowly dispersed. The heaven's gift square was silent. Even the saber chi storm in the square disappeared. Most people did not notice it. They just looked at the sky in a daze, looking at the disappearing tribulation clouds. Impossible. It's fake. It's fake. The heavenly tribulation could be cut in half. It's fake. It's fake. Many shoujo trembled. Who else wants to come up? A soft shout suddenly came from the dazed square. This soft shout caused many people to quiver and look towards the arena together. Above the battle arena, Huang stood quietly in the center. There were more than 100 corpses on the ground. Golden light shone around Huang. He was like a god overlooking all living things. 1 against 100? The emperor had won again. Not only did he kill 100 lower emptiness realm cultivators, he even killed the heavenly tribulation. The emperor looked at a man shrouded in golden light. I admit defeat. That person immediately said, I admit defeat. I admit defeat. I admit defeat. At this moment, who dared to doubt the emperor's ability? Before, he was only at the god layer, but he was already so terrifying. Now, after the 49 heavenly tribulations, he was already at the lower void level. Fight? Fight my ass. If you want to die, then go ahead. Logically speaking, 800 cultivators should have fought for several days and nights, perhaps even more than 10 days. However, at this moment, it was going to end in the blink of an eye. Bursts of golden light gathered towards the emperor. Almost everyone admitted defeat. There was nothing they could do. After all, the person in the arena was a freak. He was too fierce. In the blink of an eye, only Chong San behind Guyu Holy Sun was left. Chong San's face twitched. Should he continue? The emperor slowly looked at Chong San. I will count to 3. The emperor said coldly, holding his long saber. 1. The emperor said indifferently. Everyone looked at Guyu Holy Sun. Guyu Holy Sun's face turned ugly. Holy Sun, Chong San said in a panic. Admit defeat? Guyu Holy Sun was still unwilling. His father had finally given him another task. Was he going to mess it up again? 2. The emperor counted quietly. Holy Sun, Chong San exclaimed. Guyu Holy Sun's face was gloomy. He was still unwilling to agree. The emperor's long saber shook slightly. He was about to speak. I admit defeat. I admit defeat. I admit defeat. Chong San exclaimed. At this moment, he no longer cared about Guyu Holy Sun's orders. Whoosh! The golden light retreated from Chong San's body. The last ray of golden light enveloped the emperor. The emperor had won. In the battle for Tiansu at the Heavenly Bestowment Conference, the emperor defeated all the cultivators in the shortest time possible. The emperor was surrounded by golden light, but Guyu Holy Sun's face was extremely dark. It was as if he had been slapped in public. This was not a slap from someone else, but from his own subordinate. It was even more painful than being slapped by others. However, at this moment, only a few people were looking at Guyu Holy Sun. Most of them were looking at the emperor in the center of the arena. The Tiansu above the Sea of Providence in the sky suddenly trembled. Ka. The Tiansu left the Sea of Providence and slowly flew toward the emperor. Chapter 550. The Tiansu gradually shrank into a 1-foot-long scroll and fell into the emperor's hand. The golden light on the emperor's body also gathered towards the Tiansu. Phew! The emperor put away the Tiansu, looked around, and stepped down from the arena. Even though the battle for the Tiansu had ended, the emperor was still the focus of attention in the Heaven's Gift Square. The emperor slowly walked towards Yanchuan. Everyone's eyes were also fixed on the emperor. I'm leaving. See you again, the emperor said to Yanchuan. Yanchuan seemed to have known this and nodded. Okay. The emperor walked towards a direction and left the Heaven's Gift Square. The emperor? Who is he? Does he know Yanchuan? Whose disciple is the emperor? The crowd was discussing. Stop, you can't leave. Suddenly, a voice sounded. The voice attracted everyone's attention. It was Guyu Holy Sun, who squinted his eyes and stared at the emperor. The emperor paused and turned to look at Guyu Holy Sun. A trace of doubt flashed in his eyes. You can't leave before the end of the Heaven's Gift Conference. Guyu Holy Sun said coldly. Huh? Yin Chuan squinted his eyes and looked at Guyu Holy Sun. Before the end of the Heavens Gift Conference? Could it be that something big was going to happen? Yin Chuan pondered. The emperor turned his head and ignored Guyu Holy Sun, as if he didn't hear him at all. He continued to walk outside. Phew! Guyu Holy Sun appeared in front of the emperor in a flash. I said, you can't leave. Didn't you hear me? Guyu Holy Sun's eyes turned cold, and a powerful aura gushed out. The aura of the middle void stage was much stronger than that of the lower void stage. The nearby Shoujo were instantly pushed back by this aura. His aura rushed towards the emperor, but the emperor did not seem to be affected at all. He walked step by step towards Guyu Holy Sun. Ka 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 ka. The floor began to crack under Guyu Holy Sun's powerful aura, but the emperor still walked forward. Step by step, it was as if he was not under any pressure at all. Countless pairs of eyes around revealed looks of surprise. Slowly, the emperor walked up to Guyu Holy Sun. The emperor's eyes stared at the ancient moon, Saint's sun coldly. Boom! It was as if a long knife had pierced through the emperor's eyes and stabbed into Guyu Holy Sun's mind. A powerful will rushed out. The willpower that Guyu Holy Sun was so proud of in the past was so weak in front of Huang Heidao's blade-shaped willpower. It was completely destroyed. Boom! Guyu Holy Sun's soul trembled violently. His mind was in a mess. After a while, he finally woke up from his fear, but his spirit had withered a lot. Jingming's sun and moon attendants. You're the son of the sun attendants? You're only at the second level of the middle void stage and you dare stop me? If it wasn't for Jingming, you would have died 1,000 times. Those who block me die, the emperor said coldly. Stepping forward, Guyu Holy Sun instinctively moved aside. His eyes were filled with shock. The emperor's terrifying willpower had told him everything. No matter how stupid Guyu Holy Sun was, he did not dare to stop the emperor. He was drenched in cold sweat as he watched the emperor slowly leave. At this moment, Guyu Holy Sun did not have the slightest intention to stop the emperor. His eyes were filled with shock. A large number of Shoujo looked over curiously. Holy Sun? What's going on? Changsen came over and asked in confusion. The Zither Emperor, Chess Emperor, and Book Emperor also came over. Chapter 551. Guyu Holy Sun slowly recovered as he watched the emperor fly into the distance. Everyone was staring at him. The ancient moon saint child suddenly felt uneasy. Previously, he was against the emperor everywhere, but now it seemed so laughable. Let's go, Guyu Holy Sun said in a low voice. They cannot stay here any longer. He quickly left the square with the 4 people and Chang Si's corpse, leaving behind tens of thousands of curious people. Not long after, on a floating island outside the square, Guyu Holy Sun and the 4 people looked coldly at the square. Holy Sun, are we letting the emperor go? Changsen gritted his teeth. Changsen did not know that the emperor and Guyu had already fought. Although he could not do anything to the emperor, he hoped that Guyu Holy Sun could help avenge his brother's death. The emperor? Guyu Holy Sun's face twitched. Guyu Holy Sun did not even want to provoke the emperor. He would leave the emperor to his father. We still have important matters to attend to. Although we lost Tian Su, we still have the investiture of God's strategy. Guyu Holy Sun shook his head. Yes. Changsen nodded unwillingly. Everyone stared at the Heavens Gift Square again. In the square, the shock brought by the emperor was slowly digested by the cultivators. The square was also cleaned up. There were 70 to 80,000 cultivators, and 70,000 of them were Confucian cultivators. They were all supporters of Yin Chuan and Sima Yuntian. The shock was quickly replaced by anticipation. Yin Chuan, Sima Yuntian, and Julu Academy's Confucian cultivators. What kind of competition would there be between the 3 parties? Goddess Ji Chun, please bear witness. The competition for the investiture of God's strategy begins. Meng Ziqiu shouted again. The square suddenly fell silent. It was still the same arena, but this time it was not a martial battle, but a literary one. On the arena, Yu led 20 Confucian cultivators onto the stage slowly. Yin Chuan led Spider King, Feng, and Mr. Monroe into the arena. Mou, she hugged Meow and waited quietly below. Sima Yuntian led his 72 disciples onto the stage. Yin Chuan, Sima Yuntian, and Yu formed a triangle. The literary battle was about to begin, and the Confucian cultivators all held their breaths. The competition for the investiture of the gods is different from the competition for Tian Su. Do you want to win first and then pass the Jiulu Academy's test? Or do you want to pass the test first and then compete? Lu Yi asked with a smile. Yin Chuan and Sima Yuntian looked at each other. Test him first. Let's fight later. Sima Yuntian and Yin Chuan said at the same time. Upon receiving this reply, Lu Yi nodded. Zither, chess, calligraphy, and painting. As long as you can beat the 21 people on the stage in 2 of these, you will pass. What do you want to test first? Yu Yi asked. Go. Sima Yuntian said indifferently. Yin Chuan and Lu Yi nodded without any objections. As they stretched out their hands, 2 chessboards slowly appeared on the stage, standing between the 3 of them. Feng, Yin Chuan said indifferently. Yes. Feng nodded. Feng waved his long sleeves and stepped forward. The breeze blew his hair, making him look very free and easy. Mr. E. It's really Mr. E. Waves of excitement came from below the stage. Sima Yuntian looked at one of his disciples, who nodded and stepped forward. The second senior brother of the 72 Confucians, Zhang Shun, the best chess player among Sima Yuntian's disciples. Yu nodded and smiled. I've heard that Mr. Yi's chess skills are amazing. I've been looking forward to it for a long time. Chapter 552. With that, Yu instructed a Confucian scholar to fight Zhang Shun, while he walked to Feng's chessboard. Dean Yu is going to fight personally? I heard that Dean Yu is best at the zither and only second in chess. However, he's still a virtuous sage. He's definitely much stronger than those Confucians. Zhang Shun will fight a Confucian scholar, while Mr. E will fight a virtuous sage. That's not fair. There were many disgruntled voices below the stage, but the 2 sides had already sat down. Feng was not afraid at all. Instead, he smiled faintly and said, Jiulu Academy, virtuous sage? Feng has been looking forward to this for many years. After exchanging some pleasantries, Feng began to play his piece. Clap. The 2 games officially entered the state of a chess battle. Countless cultivators below the stage saw the pieces on the stage through their spells and focused. Yin Chuan, who was behind Feng, looked at Sima Yuntian not far away. Sima Yuntian was not paying attention to the chessboard at this moment. Instead, he was looking at the 100 Saints' righteousness altar in the distance, at Meng Ziqiu and the others. Sima Yuntian narrowed his eyes, as if he was thinking about something. In the distance, Meng Ziqiu looked at Mr. Monroe, who was behind Yin Chuan, with a complicated look in his eyes. When Ruo looked at Meng Ziqiu with a pained expression, father and son looked at each other, but for a moment they were both speechless. Separated by a large number of cultivators, Mr. Monroe bowed solemnly in Meng Ziqiu's direction. He did not say anything, only bowing. Seeing his son's attitude, Meng Ziqiu's eyes flashed with bitterness for a moment, and he sighed softly. Smack, smack, smack. The sound of pieces being played continued. Thank you. Zhang Shun was the first to win. He won for Sima Yuntian. Teacher, Zhang Shun reported excitedly. Sima Yuntian nodded, his expression unchanged. Zhang Shun returned to the 72 scholars. Everyone was looking at Feng and Yu. One was Mr. E, who had risen to fame 2 years ago and had never tasted defeat. The other was a virtuous paragon of the Jiulu Academy, the left Yardsdean. Both of their chess skills had reached the pinnacle. Although it was just the placement of a chess piece without any spells, a whirlwind was generated above the chessboard for no reason, as if it was reflecting the danger on the chessboard. Feng placed his chess pieces very quickly. Although his eyes were blurry, his style of playing chess was unusually sharp. It was as if he was sitting on the battlefield, arranging his troops in battle formations. Troops after troops were charging toward Yue. Yue, on the other hand, played the most common style of chess in the world of cultivators. It was as if he was the master of a sect, commanding his disciples to attack one after another. Flowers bloomed in all directions, and his skillful moves came one after another. It was as if the experts of the sect had come out to fight. One side was the army of the empire, and the other side was the disciples of the sections. It was like a competition between an empire and a sect. Either the sect would conquer the empire, or the empire would annihilate the sect. Kill. Roar. I'm invincible. As the chess pieces were placed, Yue seemed to hear a magnificent army charging over. Although there were not many experts in the army on the chessboard, the army was full of vigor, as if the heavens were helping them. Every time the army pressed over, the experts of the sects would be unable to resist. Smack! 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 As the chess pieces continued to be placed, Yuyi's expression turned increasingly unsightly. Charge straight in, 10,000 arrows fired. Yifeng smiled faintly. Clack! Another black chess piece was placed. Suddenly, the chessboard changed. Yue, who was immersed in the chessboard, seemed to see the magnificent army gathered in front of the sections. With Yifeng's final chess piece, 10,000 arrows were fired, bombarding the tottering sections. The magnificent army roared and charged into the sections. Everywhere they passed, corpses were strewn everywhere. Everywhere they passed, rivers of blood flowed. The foundations of the sects were instantly flattened by the magnificent army. Clack! The chess piece in Yi's hand was crushed by himself. It collapsed. The Empire's army had already annihilated the sections. All that was left were the scattered remnants. There was no way to continue this game. Yue has learned something. Yue stood up and bowed slightly. Thank you for letting me win. Yifeng smiled and stood up to return a bow. Chapter 553. Mystery 1. Someone shouted from the crowd. Mystery 1. His opponent is a virtuous paragon. Mr. Yi's chess skills are the best I've ever seen. In the square, more and more people worshipped Yifeng's chess skills. The cheers grew louder and louder. Lu Yi smiled faintly, not minding it at all. After exchanging greetings, the two of them returned to their seats. Zhang Shun and Yifeng had won. When Lu Yi returned, the 20 Confucian scholars looked at him with a bitter expression. The Jilu Academy was the most popular place in the East. How could it be defeated so easily? What else do you want to compete next? Lu Yi asked. Zither, Yin Chuan said. Sima Yuntian nodded without any objection. Yin Chuan looked at Spider King, who nodded solemnly. Zither was different from chess. It had to be played one by one. Spider King stepped forward, took out a zither, and placed it on his knees. Lu Yi looked at Spider King and picked a Confucian scholar. The Confucian scholar also sat cross-legged on the stage, and the two of them began their zither battle. Behind Yin Chuan, Yifeng frowned. Wang, this Jilu Academy is a little strange. I know, but we didn't play the zither, which means that the Jilu Academy doesn't care about their losses. Yin Chuan nodded. That means the Jilu Academy is deliberately going easy on him? Yifeng frowned. A little bit, but in the previous game, he didn't. You have the skill, Yin Chuan said solemnly. Yifeng nodded. Mimicking Yin Chuan, he stood with his hands behind his back and looked at the center of the square. Ding, 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 ding. The two zither experts played faster and faster, and in the blink of an eye, sound waves appeared in the center of the square. Rumble. A huge sound river suddenly appeared in the middle of the two great zither players. Above the sound river, the sound waves crashed into each other like a torrential river. Although it wasn't as powerful as the Tiger Tribe's encampment the other day, it wasn't too far off. Ding, ding, ding. A smile gradually appeared on the Spider King's face. On the other hand, the zither player's expression gradually turned ugly, and he found it increasingly strenuous. Big wave. King Spider laughed. Boom. In the Sound River, a huge wave that was 30 meters tall suddenly appeared and rushed towards the other side. Boom! The huge Sound River suddenly exploded, and the entire Heaven's Gift Square was filled with a loud roar. After the explosion, the sound suddenly stopped. "Thank you for letting me win." Wang Zhu smiled. The Guqin master got up and nodded. "I've heard about it. Mr. Wang's Guqin skills are indeed much better than mine." "Who is he?" "It's only been a while, and he actually won." "Spider King, you don't know?" "King Spider?" There were many discussions in all directions. The King Spider had already retreated to the front of Yin Chuan. Prince Yin didn't disappoint. King Spider said with a smile, "Thank you for your hard work." Yin Chuan nodded. Boom! There was an explosion in the sky. Half of the God Bestowment Scroll that was connected to the Sea of Providence suddenly left the Sea of Providence, as if it was certain that Yin Chuan had won. On the God Bestowment Scroll, the light that shone on Yin Chuan became more and more dazzling. "Yin Chuan has passed the Jiulu Academy's test," he announced. Yin Chuan smiled and nodded. On the other side, another disciple of Sima Yuntian walked out. "That's the head of the 72 great scholars, Qin Sei." The audience suddenly recognized him. Sima Yuntian's first disciple, the number 1 zither player, Qin Sei. Chapter 554. Qin Sei walked out with her zither. On the opposite side, Yin Chuan saw someone familiar from the Jiulu Academy. It was old Yin, the same old Yin from the investiture hall. "Senior brother Qin Sei, long time no see." Old Yin smiled. Qin Sei nodded and didn't say anything. The two sat down and started playing the zither. Ding, 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 ding. The sound of the zither rang out. As the two zither masters plucked the strings, a sound river rushed out. Boom! The sound river collided. In an instant, another sound river was formed. It wasn't as big as King Spider's, but it was still solid. Ding, 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 ding. King Spider looked and said, "The two of them are on par with each other. It's impossible to determine the winner in a short period of time." Yin Chuan nodded lightly. As expected, although the people below were waiting anxiously, the battle on the stage didn't end. After 2 hours, the sound of the zither was still there. Sima Yuntian squinted his eyes as though he was getting impatient. "Qin Sei, stand down." Sima Yuntian suddenly shouted. Ding, ding, ding. The sound of a zither gradually faded, and the original sound river also disappeared. Gradually, the two sides stopped. "Yes." Qin Sei stood up and said respectfully to Sima Yuntian. Sima Yuntian stepped forward. "What? Why did it stop?" Great sage Sima Yuntian made a move. "Really?" Everyone looked at Sima Yuntian in shock, including Li, Meng Ziqiu, and Old Yin. All of them looked at Sima Yuntian in shock. Sima Yuntian made a move at this time? He wasn't such an impulsive person, right? Yi frowned. Old Yin was on standby. "Greetings, martial uncle. Please enlighten me," Old Yin said respectfully. Sima Yuntian didn't even bother to exchange pleasantries with Old Yin. He didn't even sit down. He held the zither with one hand and placed the other on the zither. "Martial uncle, please forgive me," Old Yin said solemnly. Ding, ding, ding. Old Yin was in his most powerful state right from the start. The rolling sound river rushed over. Sima Yuntian's eyes narrowed as a cold smile appeared on his face. His right hand plucked the strings of the zither with great force. Dong, 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 dong. With just one wave, it sounded like the sound of a war drum. A huge sound wave crashed into the sound river. Boom! Old Yan's sound river suddenly exploded, and the sound waves were so powerful that they rushed towards Old Yan. Boom! Old Yan screamed as he was sent flying into the sky by the sound waves. Swish! Like a shooting star, he instantly flew out of the arena and towards Meng Ziqiu. Pooh! In midair, Old Yin spat out a mouthful of blood. He was seriously injured. Smack! Meng Ziqiu reached out and caught Old Yin. Ding! Old Yin said bitterly. Old Yin knew that Sima Yuntian's Qin Dao was strong, but he didn't expect it to be this abnormal. One wave, just one wave, and he was defeated like this? Expert, King Spider's face darkened as he looked at Sima Yuntian. Sima Yuntian? Yu Yi's eyes turned cold as he shouted. That was his disciple. How could Sima Yuntian bully him? Boom! In the sky, the other half of the god investiture strategy left the Sea of Providence and floated in the air. Large amounts of golden light gathered towards Sima Yuntian. The Jilu Academy's test was over. The god investiture strategy belonged to Sima Yuntian and Yanchuan. It was just waiting for the two of them to fight for it. Sima Yuntian didn't look at Yanchuan. Instead, he hugged his zither and looked at Meng Ziqiu. Meng Ziqiu, do you still remember what I said before I left? Sima Yuntian suddenly smiled arrogantly. Chapter 555. The Jilu Academy scholars' expressions changed. I said that when I return, I will defeat the Jilu Academy. Today I, Sima Yuntian, have returned. I will challenge the Jilu Academy in front of everyone. I will use my God bestowment strategy to take away your Jilu Academy's providence. Sima Yuntian said arrogantly. I will use my God bestowment strategy to take away your Jilu Academy's providence. Hua! Countless cultivators below the stage started discussing. Take away providence? Take away the Jilu Academy's providence? Although the Jilu Academy was only a mid-tier sect, its status in the East was unshakable. Sima Yuntian wanted the God bestowment strategy. His ambition wasn't just the God bestowment strategy, but also the providence. Roar! 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 Above the Sea of Providence, the three golden dragons of Providence suddenly roared at the God bestowment strategy, as if they felt threatened by the strategy. Literary battle of sages. Take away the providence? Furthermore, he was trying to snatch Jilu Academy's providence in front of everyone. They didn't come with good intentions. Not only did they not come with good intentions, but with the God bestowment scroll, it was equivalent to having a sect bestowed upon them by the heavens. Jilu Academy was also a sect. At this moment, it was equivalent to a battle between two sects. A battle between sects that accumulated good karma was seen on the market, but a battle between sects that cultivated good karma was unique. There wasn't much providence in the God bestowment strategy, but it was still providence. Was this a battle between two sects? Sima Yuntian stepped forward, his battle intent pressing towards Meng Ziqiu. Fight? Don't fight? Yanchuan, what do you say? Meng Ziqiu suddenly looked at Yanchuan. The God bestowment strategy had two owners, Sima Yuntian and Yanchuan. If the two of them hadn't decided who would win, Yanchuan still had the right to decide. Sima Yuntian turned to look at Yanchuan, his eyes filled with battle intent. As long as Yanchuan didn't agree, Sima Yuntian would definitely attack Yanchuan. Yanchuan looked at the providence in the sky, and a faint smile appeared on his face. Fighting for my God bestowment strategy? I wish you victory. Yanchuan smiled faintly. Sima Yuntian also smiled knowingly. Sima Yuntian placed great importance on Yanchuan, because until now, Sima Yuntian still hadn't seen through Yanchuan. This was an extraordinary opponent, and Sima Yuntian placed great importance on him. But today, the most important thing was to wash away the humiliation of the Sima clan. Only by defeating the Jilu Academy could the humiliation be washed away. Only then would he be able to comfort the spirits of the Sima clan's ancestors in heaven. Meng Ziqiu, today, does the Jilu Academy dare to accept my Sima Yuntian's challenge? Sima Yuntian took a step forward and shouted. The 72 disciples also took a step forward, their eyes filled with excitement. The surrounding Confucian cultivators were also very excited. Challenging the Jilu Academy? This was something that hadn't happened in many years. Meng Ziqiu narrowed his eyes and looked at Sima Yuntian. The 5 virtuous paragons behind him all had gloomy expressions. Everyone looked at Meng Ziqiu. In the end, you still can't let it go. Meng Ziqiu sighed. Can't let it go? This is unfair to the Sima clan. Why can't the disciples of the Sima clan compete for the position of Academy Master? Today, I will seek justice for this. I will let everyone in the world be a witness and clear the name of the Sima clan. Sima Yuntian shouted. The Sima clan can't be the master of the Julu Academy. This is an ancient rule. If you can't accept it, then come at me. Meng Zichio's eyes became serious. Chapter 556. On the stage of the Heavens Gift Plaza, Sima Yuntian and Meng Zichio each sat on one side of a huge chessboard. Everyone else stood below the stage as they placed their pieces. Yu Yi frowned as he looked into the distance where the paragons of the Julu Academy were gathered. Yu Yi, why is the dean so stubborn? Just one match with Sima Yuntian? A virtuous paragon frowned. That traitor Sima Yuntian dares to challenge our Julu Academy. We must teach him a lesson. Yeah, why don't you let us do it? I know the dean is powerful, but what if he loses? You might take over Meng Zichio's position after the Heavens Gift Conference. So Meng Zichio had told him many secrets. Everyone calmed down. The dean has his own plans. He shook his head. I know Sima Yuntian's ability. We might not be able to win, but as long as the dean doesn't interfere, it won't affect the Julu Academy's fortune. But if the dean loses, our academy's fortune will be greatly damaged. A virtuous paragon said worriedly. He looked at the sea of fortune above him. Two of the golden dragons were still weak because of the Heavens Gift Conference, while the other three golden dragons were roaring with the god bestowment strategy. After a moment of silence, He shook his head. Everyone, don't worry about it. There are some secrets of the academy that you don't know. It's best for the dean to fight personally. Secrets? What secrets? A group of virtuous paragons frowned. He shook his head. If you're willing to give up your freedom and participate in the Julu Academy's administration, you might know. But for now, I'm sorry. The five virtuous paragons frowned. Even the virtuous paragons didn't know much about the Julu Academy's secrets. They didn't participate in the administration and could only make suggestions. Seeing Meng Zichio fight Sima Yuntian, they could only sigh. Rumble. Half of the ground on the stage suddenly shattered. The rubble slowly floated up and began to revolve around the two players. Two people who were at the pinnacle of the art of chess placed their pieces. Righteous chi emanated from them. The mysteries of the game seemed to have seeped into the surrounding rubble along with the righteous chi. The crushed stones turned into bright, luminous pearls that revolved around the two of them in a mysterious pattern. Thousands upon thousands of crushed stones circled around the two of them like meteors. It was as if countless stars were revolving in the starry sky. Countless cultivators in the surroundings used spells as mirrors to look at the chessboard on the arena. Poof, poof. The Confucian cultivators all felt dizzy, and some even vomited blood. Yifeng, did you see it clearly? Yanchuan asked in a deep voice. In the end, this subject's vision is still insufficient. I can understand this game of Go, but I need time to understand it. Yifeng sighed. It's very difficult to comprehend it in such a short period of time. It's just like the chess game that His Majesty played with me. Although I worked very hard, my vision as a mortal was limited, and I couldn't see much of it. I had to wait until after the game to slowly comprehend it. I've been constantly broadening my horizons in Julu City for the past 2 years. Now, I'll help you comprehend this game of Go. Close your eyes. Yanchuan said. Yes. Yifeng nodded. Yanchuan extended his hand, and countless stars appeared in his palm. The stars revolved around his palm as if he was holding a universe in his hand. If one looked carefully, they would discover that the trajectory of the stars in his palm was exactly the same as the rubble around Sima, Yuntian, and Meng Zichio on the stage. Chapter 557. Clap. Yanchuan placed his hand behind Yifeng's head. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Yifeng's hair suddenly moved without any wind, as if he was thoroughly experiencing the game on the stage. Yanchuan looked at the stage and imparted all his understanding and analysis to Yifeng. It was only the dismantling of the chessboard and the understanding of it. Yanchuan's many years of experience naturally made him much more knowledgeable than Yifeng. Yifeng seemed to be in the middle of the chessboard and quickly understood the game played by Meng Ziqiu and Sima Yuntian. Rumble. On the stage, Sima Yuntian grabbed a piece and placed it down. His eyes burned with fighting spirit as he pressed forward step by step. Meng Ziqiu frowned. He continued to place his pieces. More and more nature energy gathered in the surroundings, and the entire arena was dyed white by the nature energy emitted by the two of them. Among the tens of thousands of Confucian cultivators in the surroundings, nearly 10,000 of them vomited blood and didn't dare to look any longer. This game was the pinnacle of chess. It rained for 6 whole hours, and the sky was already dark. The righteous energy was even more dazzling. "Give me justice." Sima Yuntian placed his piece. Clap. Boom. The rubble surrounding the two of them suddenly exploded. They exploded in all directions. A gust of wind blew from the chessboard, and Meng Ziqiu's piece was suspended in the air for a long time. The hands of the virtuous paragons in the distance trembled. "It's over," a virtuous paragon muttered. Clap. Meng Ziqiu crushed the piece in his hand. He looked up at the fierce-looking Sima Yuntian and sighed. "You win." Boom. In the sky, there was a sudden explosion. Roar, roar, roar. The 3 golden dragons of Providence suddenly let out sorrowful cries. The surging sea of Providence suddenly flowed toward the God bestowment strategy. The God bestowment strategy seemed to have a powerful suction force that absorbed the sea of Providence. Roar. The golden dragon of Providence let out a sorrowful cry as its providence flowed away. The surrounding Confucian cultivators all revealed looks of shock. This, the headmaster lost. Impossible. How could our Julu Academy lose? Why? How could the headmaster lose? The great scholars of the Julu Academy all lamented. The 5 paragons were even more sorrowful. This was the first time in 50,000 years that the Julu Academy's providence had been lost. This was the first time it had been snatched by someone. Ha 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 ha. Father, grandfather, ancestors, open your eyes and take a look. I've won. I've made the Julu Academy pay the price. Sima Yuntian suddenly looked up to the sky and laughed. As he laughed, 2 streams of tears unconsciously flowed down his face. After so many years of grievances, he could finally get his revenge. Rumble. With this flow, nearly a quarter of the providence flowed into the God's sealing strategy. Above the sea of providence, even a golden dragon of providence suddenly lost its consciousness and flowed into the God's sealing strategy. Roar. A golden dragon suddenly appeared in the God's sealing strategy. Its consciousness was destroyed, but in the God's sealing strategy, a new consciousness was born. A golden dragon belonging to the God's sealing strategy appeared. The golden dragon circled around the God sealing strategy and roared into the sky. Roar. The entire Jilu city was filled with the excited roar of the golden dragon. The flow of providence stopped. Sima Yuntian had won a quarter of the providence in this game of chess. Countless cultivators looked at this scene in shock. Wasn't this battle of providence a little too easy? Sima Yuntian comforted the spirits of his ancestors. Meng Ziqiu slowly retreated. Chapter 558. Meng Ziqiu didn't look disappointed or sad. The 5 virtuous paragons had ugly expressions. Ku Yi only smiled bitterly. Meng Ziqiu and Ku Yi looked at each other and smiled. Sima Yuntian looked at Meng Ziqiu after comforting the spirits of the ancestors. Seeing Meng Ziqiu's calm expression, his previous excitement disappeared. Meng Ziqiu was the dean, so why didn't he feel anything? Congratulations, teacher. Congratulations, teacher, for defeating the Jilu Academy. Congratulations, teacher. The 72 scholars all bowed excitedly. The tens of thousands of spectators were still in a daze. The Jilu Academy was a sacred ground. How could it lose? How? Mr. Monroe stood behind Yin Chuan with a complicated expression. Father lost? How could father lose? On the side, Yin Chuan's hand fell. Yifeng closed his eyes, as if immersed in some memories. Prince Yin, what's wrong with Mr. E? Spider King didn't understand. Nothing, don't disturb him. Yin Chuan smiled. Okay. Spider King nodded. Sima Yuntian received congratulations from everyone, but he didn't see Meng Ziqiu lose his composure. He felt uncomfortable. Looking at the golden dragon roaring in the sky, Sima Yuntian's eyes turned cold as he looked at Yin Chuan. Yin Chuan, come, Sima Yuntian said in a low voice. Sima Yuntian's shout calmed the spectators, and they all looked at Yin Chuan. There was still a battle to decide the god bestowment. Spider King. Yin Chuan looked at Spider King. Spider King nodded. He stepped onto the stage. Start with the zither? Okay. Sima Yuntian nodded. Whoosh. Whoosh. The two zither experts set up their zither. Dong 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 dong. Dong dong dong. As soon as Spider King and Sima Yuntian stepped onto the stage, the power of their zither was maximized. The beautiful zither music sounded like war drums. 8 sound rivers suddenly appeared in front of each of them and collided with each other. Boom, boom, boom. The might of the 8 sound rivers was vast. Under the huge impact, whirlpools suddenly appeared around the two. Huge sonic booms instantly filled the entire arena. Rumble. This zither battle was many times more powerful than before, and it was incredibly powerful, forcing the countless Confucian cultivators to continuously retreat. Some of them even covered their ears and fled in terror. How is that possible? Their Guqin Dao is too terrifying. I can't take it anymore. Countless Xiozha showed pained expressions. Wang Zhu waved his Guqin faster and faster. Sweat dripped down his face. Sima Yuntian's Guqin Dao was too strong. This was the first time he had encountered someone like this. Sima Yuntian's eyes were also filled with malevolence. His hands were so fast that the shadows of his fingers could no longer be seen. Beads of sweat appeared on his forehead. Pooh! The king spider spat out a mouthful of blood. The surrounding sound waves gradually disappeared. The whirlpool on the stage also slowly dissipated. Spider King spat out a mouthful of blood and revealed a bitter smile. You won, Spider King said. Sima Yuntian took a deep breath and said, You're very strong. No matter how strong I am, I still lost. The Julu Academy is indeed full of crouching tigers and hidden dragons. I didn't expect to lose so many times in just a few years, Spider King said with a bitter smile. Spider King got up with difficulty and walked towards Yin Chuan. Prince Yin, I've tried my best. I'm sorry, Spider King said bitterly. You fulfilled your promise. Rest well. Yin Chuan handed over a pill bottle. No need. The rest is up to you, Spider King said with a bitter smile. Yin Chuan took a deep breath and nodded with a confident smile. Chapter 559. The 39th Wild Sima. It's Mystery again. Even the Hall Master is not as good as Sima Yuntian. Can Mystery do it? The Confucian cultivators below the arena discussed fervently. Yifeng had already woken up and stepped onto the arena. Sima Yuntian looked at Yifeng, and a glint flashed in his eyes. The second game is go. Let me make the first move. Yifeng smiled faintly. Right after Yifeng spoke, Zhang Shun of the 72 Confucian cultivators suddenly stepped forward. Teacher, Yin Chuan did not even come up. Why do you need to do it yourself? Let this disciple do it for you, Zhang Shun said with a smile. You? Sima Yuntian suddenly smiled. Yes. Teacher, rest assured. Since this disciple dared to step forward, I am confident of victory, Zhang Shun said confidently. The 71 Confucian cultivators nodded. Sima Yuntian smiled faintly and asked, How confident are you of victory? Zhang Shun frowned slightly. He looked around and looked at Yifeng, as if he was worried that if he said it, it wouldn't work. Countless cultivators in the surroundings also stared at Zhang Shun. It was as if they were anticipating Zhang Shun's secret to victory. Seeing his teacher press him, Zhang Shun could only helplessly say, This disciple discovered a flaw in Yifeng's Go style. This disciple and his junior brothers studied Yifeng's Go style. Yifeng has a fatal flaw. Wow. The cultivators below the arena looked at Zhang Shun in shock. A flaw? Yifeng has a flaw? Teacher, Zhang Xin stepped forward and said expectantly, "Is it the initial setup?" Sima Yuntian asked with a smile. "Huh? Teacher noticed it as well?" Zhang Shun asked in shock. "Setup?" The surrounding cultivators looked at Sima Yuntian in shock. Sima Yuntian shook his head and sighed. "You fell for it." "Ah, how can that be? This disciple studied all of Yifeng's Go games. I can't be wrong. His initial setup was very weak. As long as he made a ferocious breakthrough at the start, he would lose for sure," Zhang Shun said in disbelief. "Ha ha ha, Mr. E, why don't you say it?" Sima Yuntian suddenly laughed. Although Sima Yuntian was arrogant, as long as it was someone with ability, Sima Yuntian would still give them sufficient respect. Yifeng smiled and said, "Mr. Sima, you have sharp eyes." "Ah, what's going on? Teacher, what's going on?" Zhang Xin asked in confusion. Sighing softly, Sima Yuntian said, "That's a trap that Yifeng set up long ago, just waiting for you to fall into it." "A condom made long ago? Did Yifeng leave that flaw on purpose?" Zhang Shun opened his mouth in shock. Zhang Xin wasn't the only one. Many of the virtuous scholars at the Julu Academy had studied Yifeng's chessboard, and some of them were smart enough to notice Yifeng's flaws. They were originally quite pleased with themselves, but now they were told that this was a trap set up by someone else. The paragons immediately blushed. "Yifeng's chess is not something you can compare to. Go down and watch carefully," Sima Yuntian said indifferently. "Yes," Zhang Shun said with a red face. At this moment, there were tens of thousands of cultivators watching. His arrogance this time made him the laughingstock of the world. Of course, most of the cultivators in the surroundings worshipped Yifeng even more. Sima Yuntian looked at Yin Chuan and said, "Yin Chuan?" Yin Chuan's expression was still very calm as he smiled faintly. "Although there are only 4 people, they all have their own specialties. Zither, Go, calligraphy, and painting. You found the best. Amazing." Sima Yuntian looked at Yin Chuan with praise. "Sima Yuntian, rumor has it that you're proficient in the Zither, Go, calligraphy, and painting. You really live up to your reputation." Yin Chuan smiled. "Zither, you have already lost. Do you still think you can beat me?" Sima Yuntian said gravely. Chapter 560. "I have to thank you for bringing me such luck," Yin Chuan said with a smile. Yin Chuan's words showed his confidence in winning. "Ha ha, all right, come at me together," Sima Yuntian said arrogantly. Together, surprised voices came from all around. Even Meng Ziqiu, who was not far away, narrowed his eyes. "The descendants of the Sima family are indeed arrogant," he said with a bitter smile. "It's passed down from generation to generation." Meng Ziqiu nodded with a bitter smile. Yin Chuan stared at Sima Yuntian calmly. "Mr. Monroe, come and have a painting battle with him," Yin Chuan said to Wenruo. "Huh, all right." Mr. Monroe nodded. "Aren't you coming?" Sima Yuntian asked. "Me? I'm afraid you won't be able to handle it, and will blame the rules." Yin Chuan smiled. "Ha ha, if I can't handle it, will I blame the rules?" Sima Yuntian laughed in surprise. Sima Yuntian was arrogant, but now he realized that there was someone even more arrogant than him. "All right, I'll give you one last chance." Sima Yuntian nodded. "Prince Yin, I'll try my best," Mr. Monroe said to Yin Chuan again. Yin Chuan believes in Mr. Monroe's ability. But this time, what is Mr. Monroe going to draw? Yin Chuan smiled. "Prince Yin, please give me a question," Wenruo said seriously. Yin Chuan looked at Sima Yuntian and then at Wenruo. He smiled and said, "I want you to draw a painting of great destruction." "Huh? Great destruction?" Wenruo was shocked. "Destruction of all living things, extinction of all races, destruction of all living things, destruction of heaven and earth, doomsday," Yin Chuan said with certainty. Mr. Monroe looked at Yin Chuan in shock. His eyes were full of confusion. It wasn't that Wenruo didn't know how to draw such a picture. It was just that this drawing was too remote. Moreover, it was very unpopular. "Go ahead. Think about it. I trust you." Yin Chuan smiled. "All right." Mr. Monroe smiled bitterly. Nodding, Mr. Monroe also stepped onto the arena. Wen Ruo and Yifeng stepped onto the stage, while Yin Chuan returned to Mo Yushi's side. What do you want Mr. Monroe to draw? Can he win? Mo Yushi asked worriedly. Meow? I heard it. Yin Chuan wants Wen Ruo to draw Doomsday. Meow immediately jumped from Mo Yushi's arms to Yin Chuan's shoulder. I don't know whether he can win or not, but as long as he draws according to my instructions, I can help him defeat Sima Yuntian, Yin Chuan said with certainty. Mo Yushi's eyes flashed with curiosity. This heavenly bestowal conference is not that simple. Qinglong, help me do something. Yin Chuan thought for a moment and said, Yes, World of Light. In front of the Divine Light Basilica, Meng Lingtian waved his hand and a light screen appeared. Everything in the heavenly bestowal plaza could be seen. Dongfang Zhengpai, Meng Rongrong, and 3 other men were accompanying Meng Lingtian to watch the light screen. This Sima Yuntian is too much. He actually stole the fate of the Julu Academy. Dongfang Zhengpai shouted. Meng Lingtian sighed as he watched Sima Yuntian take a quarter of the fate of the outside world. Old Meng, no. Teacher, aren't you going to do something about it? Your family's little Meng Qi has already lost. Are you just going to let Sima Yuntian take advantage of this fate? Dongfang Zhengpai frowned. He's the only heir of the Sima family in his generation. The Sima family has a very special status. The Julu Academy's ancestral teachings set various rules for the Sima family. They have many privileges in the Julu Academy, but they can never become the dean. Meng Lingtian sighed. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.